Chapter 97: The Black Robe Man's Conspiracy. At the same time, in a dungeon in the Great Zhou Palace, a weak figure slowly approached, holding on to the wall. His dragon robe was stained with blood. On his chest, there was a shocking bloody hole, which kept dripping blood. This person is none other than the king of Great Zhou. At this moment, he was poisoned, and the poison was spreading throughout his body. If he was not treated, he would probably die soon. In the deep shadows, a black-robed figure appeared. After seeing the miserable state of King Zhou, his expression froze. Didn't you break through to the saint level? How could you be so seriously injured? Besides, weren't you also working together with that immortal dynasty's prince? The man in black robe said in disbelief. He never expected that the king of Zhou did not come back to report the good news, but ended up in such a situation. The king of Great Zhou had a gloomy expression. When he heard the words of the crown prince, he cursed loudly, not caring about the blood gushing from his chest. That prince is a complete idiot and a complete jerk. He's completely useless. The 4 quasi-saints he brought with him were all killed by Nangong Chen and his men. I was so respectful to him before. If his body were here, I would whip it mercilessly. After hearing this, the black-robed man's face twitched under the shadow, and he didn't know how to comment for a moment. If one can fail in such a sure-win situation, he is a talented person. What about you? You're a saint. Who can do anything to you? After a long time, the man in black robe asked curiously again. King Zhou's face showed some fear, and then he slowly said, "We were all deceived by the appearance of Tianyuan Mansion. In this operation, Tianyuan Mansion actually sent 8 quasi-saints, and even a saint. So that's how it is. No wonder you escaped back in such a miserable state." The man in black robe said with some realization. But it seems that the Tianyuan Mansion is indeed very well hidden. They are able to send out 8 quasi-saints. This is comparable to the top forces in central Shenzhou. The man in black robe pondered for a moment and continued. "I was shot by that saint, and that damn kid Nangong Chen. They all deserve to die. They all deserve to die." The king of Zhou had a resentful look on his face and said through gritted teeth. The man in black robes looked at him helplessly and sighed. "Your injury, TSK. You were shot so badly, and it happened to your weak spot. It seems you really suffered a great loss this time. I never thought that the king of Great Zhou, the ruler of a country, would end up being hunted down. In my opinion, the people outside should all be from Tianyuan Mansion. You can't escape today." After saying that, the man in black robe shook his head and looked at him with pity. "Stop talking nonsense. I agree to the blood sacrifice formation you mentioned before, but I want a 50-50 split of the blood energy I get." King Zhou said unhappily. "Ha, I knew you were going to do this. However, the blood sacrifice formation is going to refine the entire Great Zhou. You are so cruel. If your people knew about this, what would they dare to think?" The black-robed man laughed. A gloomy look flashed across the eyes of the Great Zhou king, but he hid it well. He said, "What if I know? What if I don't? If you want to blame someone, blame the Tianyuan Mansion. They forced me to do this. Okay, I promise you, but the conditions you mentioned have changed. I'll take 9, and you take 1. The man in black robe had a grim expression on his face and spoke slowly. Upon hearing this, the king of Great Zhou was also shocked and demanded, "Didn't we agree on a 50-50 split before? Why is it now 90% for you and 1% for me? This won't do. I don't agree. You know that was in the past. Do you think you are qualified to make demands on me in your current state?" The man in black robe sneered, and his aura was no longer concealed, and his saintly cultivation burst out. "You!" King Zhou's face changed, and he stared at him intently. This black-robed man was actually a saint. He had always thought he was only a quasi-saint, but he had hidden it so deeply. "Why? You still want to kill me? I'm already doing a good job of giving you 1/10. If it weren't for the fact that you still have some value, I wouldn't even want to give you 1/10. Bring out the imperial seal. Don't force me to take it. You can't stop me now." The man in black robe said coldly, with a murderous look in his eyes. The king of the Great Zhou was a little uncertain and clenched his fists. After a while, he took out the jade seal. When a man in black robe saw it, his eyes lit up, and he snatched it away. "Not bad. It's worth all my effort. Ha. I finally got it." The man in black robe looked at the lifelike jade seal with a crazy expression and laughed loudly. "Don't be happy too soon. If your blood sacrifice formation fails and is broken by Tianyuan Mansion, I'm afraid your fate will be the same as mine." King Zhou sneered. "Do you think I'm as stupid as you? I started carving the blood sacrifice formation more than 10 years ago with the goal of today. Now that I have the imperial seal, the only thing left is the last step, devouring the dragon vein, and then I can activate the blood sacrifice formation. Hee. This is the blood and energy of a nation. After this success, Lord Blood God will soon awaken. By then, my status in the Blood God cult will rise." The man in black robe revealed his ferocious face and spoke crazily. When King Zhou heard this, he was a little shocked. He hadn't expected that this person had actually started planning this so early. Thinking of this, he couldn't help but said worriedly, "You won't refine me by then, right?" After saying this, the black robe man revealed a meaningful smile. "Don't worry, given the friendship between you and me, how could I do such a thing? I will let you see with your own eyes the expressions of the people in Tianyuan Mansion being refined. That is truly a wonderful feeling." After saying that, he stuck out his tongue, licked his lips, and his eyes were extremely evil. When the king of Zhou saw this, he couldn't help but feel fear. On the other side, Nangong Chen and his group were shocked when they saw the scene of the palace in front of them, and a feeling of nausea came over them. Even some members of the Tianyuan army who had experienced countless wars felt a little bit uncomfortable when they saw this scene. All I saw in the palace was a dense mass of corpses and dead bodies, including the bodies of children everywhere. These children died in a very miserable way, with their chests cut open by a knife, and their hearts hollowed out directly. It was extremely cruel. There was a foul smell everywhere, and even the corpses had been left there for a long time, with insects already gnawing on them. The scene was horrifying, and ordinary people would probably be unable to sleep for a long time after seeing this scene. "My child!" At this moment, Aunt Sue suddenly rushed out from the crowd, came to the two bodies, and cried bitterly. The two children, one boy and one girl, looked very cute, but they had many bruises on their bodies. I'm afraid they had been abused in the palace during this period. Soon, more people rushed out from the crowd. They all recognized that those young and innocent faces were the children they had not seen for a long time. Chapter 99, Mass Outrage. At this moment, demonic energy surged like an overwhelming force, covering the entire sky of the Great Zhou. In the center of it, in the imperial capital, a black beam of light shot straight into the sky. The scene was so frightening that even the daytime at noon turned into night in an instant. In the Great Zhou Dynasty, when the people from other places saw this scene, their pupils shrank slightly, and they were extremely shocked. Why did it suddenly become dark? Is there some natural disaster about to happen? Oh my God, could that black mist be demonic energy? Doesn't that mean someone wants to demonize the entire Great Zhou? At this moment, some monks speculated in surprise. Of course, after seeing this, more people put down their work and looked up at the sky with great worry. If the sky suddenly turns dark, something bad must be happening. In the center of the imperial capital, a man in black robe laughed loudly with a crazy look on his face. He held a magic bead in his hand. The demonic power inside was surging, continuously eroding the jade seal. You can see a little golden dragon in a jade seal. At this moment, its entire body is half demonized. It keeps struggling and looks very painful. Many people on the streets of the imperial capital saw this scene and were confused as to what was happening. What were they doing? Looking from afar, people on two sides were facing each other in the sky. One was Nangong Chen's side, and the other was King Zhou's side. When they saw the serious injuries on King Zhou's body, they couldn't help but be a little surprised. Could it be that Tianyuan Mansion was responsible? Why did the Tianyuan Mansion want to kill the king of Great Zhou? Who was that person beside the king of Great Zhou? Could he have been responsible for this night-like scene? At this moment, these people's hearts were full of doubts. But soon, more and more people came out of the palace and told others that 100,000 children were killed in the palace of King Zhou. When they heard this, some people looked incredulous at first, but only after they went in with a solemn oath did they believe it. Such an action of the king of Great Zhou was undoubtedly outrageous to both humans and gods, causing public outrage and instantly igniting all the people's previous dissatisfaction. King of Zhou, you are truly inhuman. You summoned 100,000 children to the palace, and you killed them all. 100,000. That could be 100,000 families. I've always thought you were a good person, but I never thought you'd be so cruel and ruthless, even lying to your own son Ziming. We trusted you so much, sending our child into your hands. And this is how you treat him. I can't even imagine how heartbreaking that must have been for those parents. What a beast. He'll go to hell and die. People's eyes were filled with anger. They clenched their fists and spoke with gritted teeth. On the streets, countless people threw out the portraits and statues of King Zhou that were placed in their homes, as if they had seen bad luck. Passing dogs would step on them when they saw them. I support Tianyuan Mansion in killing King Zhou. I used to believe what King Zhou said, that Tianyuan Mansion was unforgivable. Now that I think about it, what King Zhou said is bullshit. Not a single word is true. In front of the pork stall, a burly man said indignantly. Soon, a voice was heard among the crowd. Support Tianyuan Mansion in killing the emperor, and support the young master in killing that beast. People said in unison, looking angrily at the figure of King Zhou in the sky. Seeing that the barrier remained motionless despite repeated attacks, the king of Zhou couldn't help but be delighted. Come and kill me, but you can't kill me no matter how hard you try. King Zhou asked, asking for a beating. Nangong Chen's pupils were blazing as he saw through the magic bead held by the black-robed man, and his expression was a little dazed. Is this barrier caused by the magic bead? Although the man in black robe hid himself very well, he couldn't stand it because Nangong Chen could see through him. Then, Nangong Chen showed a hint of amusement at the corner of his mouth and said with a smile, laugh, cherish the few moments in your life. The demonic energy contained in the magic bead is constantly decreasing. That is to say, it will disappear after one stick of incense. Then it will be their turn to cry. Okay, generals, stop it and take a break. There's no rush. Nangong Chen gave the order. Although everyone was puzzled, they still stopped. After hearing Nangong Chen's words, King Zhou felt a little puzzled. His expression was uncertain, and he did not speak. Soon, the cursing from the people below came, overwhelming and deafening. The people from Tianyuan Mansion also smiled and looked at King Zhou with disdain. In the void, after seeing this scene, King Zhou curled his lips and said with disdain, "You were born as my people, so what if you sacrifice for me?" As soon as these words came out, countless murderous gazes rushed towards him. What a beast! How did such a person become the ruler of the Great Zhou? Suli gritted her teeth and said, her beautiful eyes frosty. After hearing this, Qiao, who was standing by, yawned and didn't say much. Because in her opinion, this kind of thing is not uncommon. There are even powerful demons in the 9 heavens. Compared with the cultivators who had refined an entire domain before, this is still a minor incident. However, this does not mean that she supports this action. In her previous life, she killed everyone she met. Several women also looked at King Zhou with anger. Even the Tianyuan army behind him kept cursing, and even several quasi-saint generals were cursing the king of Great Zhou. Nangong Chen didn't say much. His pupils were blazing as he carefully observed the black barrier. He was looking for an opportunity to break through the barrier. Of course, he heard clearly what the king of Zhou said, but he didn't say much. This kind of person is so beastly that he would only show a trace of repentance before he died. The people below widened their eyes, turned red in the face, and were extremely angry after hearing this. At this moment, the last bit of their trust in King Zhou had disappeared. Some people who supported King Zhou even imagined that all this was a misunderstanding, but from the moment King Zhou said it, everything was shattered. They had not expected that the king of the Great Zhou's true thoughts on them would be like this, such a disregard for human life. In the void, the black-robed man saw this scene and laughed loudly. He said, "It's a wonder that your Great Zhou has such a monarch. By the way, before you die, I have a piece of news for you. Your king of Great Zhou was even willing to sacrifice your entire Great Zhou for even a fraction of your blood and energy. Have you seen this? It's your imperial seal. Once the golden dragon inside is completely refined and the blood sacrifice formation is activated, all of you in Great Zhou will be reduced to mere nutrients. I'm a member of the blood god cult. You should know that once this blood sacrifice formation is formed, the outcome is set. You won't have the slightest chance of escape." After hearing this, King Zhou frowned and said with some dissatisfaction, "What are you saying to them?" What the king of the Great Zhou Dynasty was dissatisfied with was why he had to disclose the fact that he only got 10%, which made him seem to lose face. Even at this moment, he still had no remorse. As soon as these words were spoken, the people on the street all looked stunned, as if they could not accept it. That black-robed man is from the blood god cult. Does that mean the king of Great Zhou is colluding with members of the blood god cult? This beast is actually going to refine us just for a tenth of our blood essence. Oh my god, this is simply not a human being. What should we do? The blood sacrifice formation is almost finished. This place is tens of millions of kilometers away from the border of the Great Zhou Dynasty. How can we escape? It is simply a foolish dream. In the void. Oh no, it's actually a blood sacrifice formation. If it's formed, there's no way to break it. Qian's face changed, and he spoke. Not only him, but even the 8 generals behind him had pale faces and looked desperate. Chapter 100 Countdown. You know, the reputation of the blood god cult is known to everyone in the entire Xintian domain. The blood god cult has always been very mysterious, and no one knows where it is. Even when the blood god cult aroused the wrath of many top forces in Xintian realm and turned Xintian realm upside down, they still couldn't find the blood god cult's hiding place. This is one of its mysterious points, and the other point is that its methods are brutal and cruel. Anyone who comes from the blood god sect can destroy a place without leaving anyone alive. The skills they use are very evil. They can extract the essence and blood of people by killing them for cultivation. They are extremely brutal. However, this also has its drawbacks. After using this strange technique, you will find that it can make a normal person's mind become vicious and bloodthirsty, and he can even become insane and kill his own relatives. And now, a powerful person from the blood god cult has appeared, and he is at the saint level. This person must have a very high status in the blood god cult. And the heavenly sacrifice formation that this black robe man mentioned is what makes countless people tremble with fear. Even Qiyun, a saint, was shocked after hearing this. This is the top-level formation inherited by the blood god cult. Many small dynasties and small families disappeared overnight because of this blood sacrifice formation. Once formed, no matter how powerful you are, you cannot break through the blood sacrifice formation inside, even if 10 saints come. The weird thing about it is that this formation has no eye. It can continuously devour the living things in the formation, slowly devouring them and refining their blood and energy until they are drained. In the void, many people, including Nangong Chen, were confused after hearing about the blood sacrifice formation. Of course, after listening to Qi Yun's explanation, they all looked enlightened and their eyes were filled with fear. This blood sacrifice formation is so weird. So, there's no way to break this great sacrificial formation. Nangong Chen couldn't help but ask. If he had to, he didn't want to take out the human emperor's sword so early. The reason why it was said before that the human emperor's sword could break the formation was because the human emperor's sword had a miraculous function, which was to ignore the formation and break it directly. Of course, it is said that another legendary sword, the Zhuxian sword, also has this function. No, the only way is to stop the person who set up the formation and interrupt him from setting up the formation. Qian shook his head and said. Nangong Chen looked a little disappointed when he saw this, but he didn't say anything. Suddenly, the black-robed man looked over here from afar, revealed a playful smile, and said, "Well, are you guys desperate? He. In just a few breaths, the blood sacrifice formation will be completed. When the time comes, you will witness your own death with your own eyes. This is a pleasant process." King de Zhou also spoke up, his expression very relieved. "Today, I can finally see the people from your Tianyuan Mansion die. It's worth waiting for this day." After hearing this, everyone felt very aggrieved and looked at him angrily. Unexpectedly, in the end, he was actually plotted against by the king of Zhou. Suli gritted his teeth secretly and asked in his heart, "Qiao, is there any way to solve this blood sacrifice formation? If even this reincarnated great being can't solve the problem, then there really is nothing we can do. I didn't expect that this blood god cult also exists in the lower world." Qiao did not respond to her, but said with some sigh, "Back then, in the upper realm, the blood god cult was also hated by everyone." "Hey, I'm asking you a question," Suli said anxiously when she ignored him. "Let me think. It seems there's really no way," Qiao said with a bitter face after thinking for a while. Then Qiao slowly explained. "This blood sacrifice formation didn't originate from the lower realms, but in my time within the 9 heavens, I heard about the blood sacrifice formation. Once it's formed, it will be a death sentence for you. If I could recover my cultivation level from my previous life, this blood sacrifice formation would dissipate in a single thought. Unfortunately, I am only a remnant soul now." After hearing this, Su Li's face was somewhat disappointed, and her beautiful eyes dimmed. So, does that mean all of us are going to die here today? She hasn't seen the outside world with Nangong Chen yet, and she doesn't want to die so early. Don't worry, there's still some hope. If there's the legendary god-slaying stone here, it will definitely destroy the formation. Or maybe there are some legendary divine swords, like the human emperor's sword. Chi Yao quickly spoke to comfort her. You're not saying anything. Who has these things here? Su Li rolled her eyes and said unhappily. Then her expression became gloomy. After hearing this, Chi Yao shut up immediately. Yes, that means she will die here today, too. No, if she is a soul, how could she die? Oh, right. Maybe you can escape death by leaving your body, but then you'll have to find a body. Or you can live like me. Suddenly, Chi Yao's beautiful eyes lit up and she spoke. However, the only thing is that it may cause your physical condition to disappear. She then said cautiously. After hearing this, Su Li did not respond. If it really came to that, she might consider it. At this time, the reactions of the other women were similar. Zhou Wanner's dark pupils revealed a hint of despair. She didn't expect that in the end, she still couldn't take revenge. Then, she saw Nangong Chen's pine-like back and was stunned. However, she seemed to have met the second person who treated her as well as a mother, so in that way, it seemed that she had no regrets. Thinking of this, Zhou Wanner's eyes showed some relief. The same was true for Wang Yuxuan. She was a little sad at first, but when she thought that she could die with her master, her big eyes lit up instantly. Well, then, wouldn't that mean I become a pair of starving lovers with my master? That seems pretty good. Lu Ruyan was wearing a long and graceful dress. She looked at Nangong Chen, not knowing what she was thinking. Below, those people were also wailing with despair in their eyes. I don't want to die. I haven't lived enough. This damn king of the Zhou shall not die a good death. If I go to hell, I will become a ghost and kill King Zhou. In the distance, the king of the Zhou looked enjoyable, slowly enjoying the desperate expressions of these people, which was very refreshing. The man in black robe beside them did the same, looking at them with pleasure. Soon, they discovered something was wrong. It seemed that Nangong Chen was still as calm and composed as ever. One with double pupils, why aren't you afraid? The man in black robe spoke coldly. Afraid? Why should I be afraid? Aren't you the ones who should be afraid? Nangong Chen's eyes were deep as he spoke softly. He was counting down in his mind, counting down the last few seconds until the shell would disappear. Chapter 101 Nangong Yu takes action. Boom! Suddenly, Tianyuan Mansion attacked without any warning. The 8 generals had eyes like cold lightning and aura like the deep, and they each unleashed their most powerful killing techniques. Qi Yin did the same. The golden bow was fully drawn, and the pressure it emitted made the entire world tremble. For a moment, divine light shone from heaven and earth, and all kinds of swords and spears were flying. This move was even more powerful than the previous one. Obviously, the Tianyuan Mansion did not hold back at all. Everyone stared with eyes wide open, looking at the scene in front of them in disbelief. Wasn't Tianyuan Mansion able to do anything to that demon? Why did it suddenly attack again? Ah, you're such idiots. How could you possibly break this barrier? Haven't you remembered your previous failures? When the king of the Zhou saw this scene, he was a little panicked at first, but after he came to his senses, he sneered. The man in black robe also sneered, with a look of disdain, and did not notice anything wrong. He sighed a little, thinking that even the king of Great Zhou couldn't defeat the brains of Tianyuan Mansion. How stupid must he be? Just when those attacks fell in front of them, the man in black robe seemed to suddenly think of something and suddenly picked up the magic bead in his hand. At this moment, the magic bead was extremely dim, and the demonic power was extremely scarce. In the next moment, the magic bead suddenly disappeared. The demonic obstacle also disappeared in the world in an instant. Oh no, run! The smile on the corner of the black-robed man's mouth froze. His face changed, and he said in panic. The king of the Zhou on the side obviously had not reacted yet. Even after hearing what the man in black robe said, he still looked calm and even closed his eyes, looking like he was enjoying it. Why are you running? With this treasure of yours, why are you afraid of these people's tricks? The king of Zhou raised the corner of his mouth slightly, his tone very proud. However, it was too late for the man in black to escape at this moment. The two of them were caught off guard by this flood-like attack. The body of King Zhou disappeared in an instant, leaving only a confused soul. Although the man in black robe was not in that critical condition, he was also seriously injured. His body was bleeding, broken into pieces, and his flesh and blood were everywhere. Despite this, the man in black robe still had a chance to breathe. He wanted to escape, burning his life madly. Several generals from Tianyuan Mansion erupted instantly and used the confinement technique to bind the soul of King Dezhou and keep him in place. On the other side of the black robe man, Qi Yun took action, stepping on the void at an extremely fast speed, trying to catch him. At this moment, the blood sacrifice formation also completed the last step. A huge red magic barrier rose up instantly, covering the entire Dezhou. A sky full of blood-red chains appeared from the sky and attacked Qi Yun. Seeing this, Qi Yun immediately drew his longbow and smashed these annoying blood-colored chains into pieces. The man in black robe was also overjoyed when he saw this scene, his face full of joy. God is really helping me. Then, he took out a magic wand with an amber-light gem on it. The man in black robe knocked the blood sacrifice formation with a magic wand and actually opened a passage. Not good. When Qi Yun saw this scene, he looked extremely anxious and said to himself, "Oh no." People also felt a little regretful when they saw this scene. The black-robed man smiled, and there was a hint of cruelty in his eyes. "Goodbye, everyone. Be my nourishment. I will definitely dedicate your blood and energy to the blood god." He. Just as he was about to leave, a sword came rushing over. The void trembled, and the sword energy was vast and boundless. The black-robed man's eyes widened. He didn't expect that someone would attack him at this moment. After feeling this breath, his face turned even paler. This person is absolutely strong and unstoppable. Swish! The next moment, the black-robed man's body was cut in half, and blood gushed out. At this moment, the expression on his face froze. Still want to escape? A cold snort came from the void. After seeing this person, everyone was very surprised, and their hearts were in shock for a long time. Because the person in front of him is the founder of Tianyuan Mansion, Nangong Chen's grandfather, the supreme Saint Nangong Yu. Down below, Nangong Chen saw this scene, and a flash of shock flashed in his eyes. Grandpa was actually born. A saint of this level would not easily appear in the world unless something major happened. However, after seeing that the man in black robe was caught, he breathed a sigh of relief. Fortunately, he did not escape. He could use the secret of travel to pursue him, but the risk was too great. This was a saint. Even though he was seriously injured, who knew if he had any backup plan? "It's you. You're not dead yet." The soul of the man in black robe appeared instantly, and after seeing this person, his face was also shocked. How could he not have heard of the name Nangong Yu? He was the one who made King Zhou suffer from insomnia every night and even had mental demons. The sage of Tianyuan hasn't appeared in the world for nearly 1,000 years. Everyone still thought he was dead. "You blood god cultists, you actually want to attack my grandson? Even if I have to open my coffin, I will come out to deal with you." Nangong Yu raised his eyebrows and said viciously. The next moment, Nangong Yu waved his hand, and a large net fell down, directly binding the soul of the man in black robe. The man in black robe was about to self-destruct, but he was still a step too late. And below, Nangong Chen saw this scene and couldn't help but feel warm in his heart. It seems that he is not fighting alone. Afterwards, Nangong Yu waved his hand and directly shattered the blood-colored chains in the void, and Qi Yun was saved. "Thank you, old master, for saving me." Qi Yun bowed, his eyes somewhat shocked. These blood-colored chains are not easy to deal with. Even he, who is in the late stage of saint, was entangled by them for such a long time, but Nangong Yu actually broke them in an instant. Could it be that the old master has entered the legendary realm? Thinking of this, the respect in his eyes deepened, and his eyes were filled with fear of Nangong Yu. Meanwhile, in the sky, the hole that the black-robed man had just knocked out was shrinking. Seeing this, the king of Great Zhou also showed a ferocious smile. "You will all be buried with me today, so what if you capture me?" The black-robed man's eyes were dull. After hearing this, he finally realized what was happening and sneered. "If you kneel down and beg for mercy and destroy your own cultivation, maybe I can tell you how to get out?" After hearing what they said, everyone's expression changed, with some despair in their eyes. "Yes, what does it matter if we catch the two of them? They will still die in this blood sacrifice formation today." They felt that the blood and energy in their bodies were constantly decreasing and completely uncontrollable, turning into wisps of red smoke, slowly flying in the air. Chapter 102, The Human Emperor Sword appears. Soon, the soul of the man in black robe was brought to Nangong Chen by Nangong Yu and thrown to the ground. Humph. You're still talking so much even when you're about to die. Nangong Yu snorted coldly, his eyes icy. When the two saw Nangong Yu speaking, they looked at him with fear and shut their mouths instantly. Meet the old mansion master. When the Tianyuan army saw this, they all expressed their respect in unison, and even the 8 great generals were no exception. Nangong Yu nodded as a response to them. The eyes of the Tianyuan army were extremely fiery. They had never expected that a living legend would appear before their eyes today. I never had a chance to see him before. Meet the old mansion master. When Su Li and the other girls saw Nangong Yu's gaze falling on them, they also hurriedly spoke. After all, there are quite a few of them who want to perform well in front of Grandpa Nangong Chen. Seeing how stunningly beautiful they all were, Nangong Yu nodded with satisfaction. Grandpa, why are you here? Nangong Chen asked curiously. After seeing Nangong Chen, Nangong Yu's brows relaxed and a smile appeared on his face. My dear grandson, I really wronged you today. There was a hint of apology in his tone. Even they hadn't expected that the king of Great Zhou would actually be involved with the blood god cult. It's okay, grandson is not wronged. Nangong Chen shook his head and responded calmly. Old palace master, do you have a way to break through this blood sacrifice formation? At this moment, someone in Tianyuan Mansion asked. Soon, countless fiery gazes turned towards Nangong Yu. After all, if even the most supreme saints cannot handle this blood sacrifice formation, I am afraid no one in the Great Zhou will be able to break it. At this moment, the man in black robe had a look of disdain on his face. He had never heard of anyone being able to break the blood sacrifice formation, unless his cultivation was higher than his, which was somewhat possible. However, it is simply impossible to be above the saints. Since ancient times, there have been only a handful of people who can reach that level, and those people are all big figures who are famous throughout the Xintian realm. Nangong Yu pondered for a while, observing the blood sacrifice formation, and then slowly said, Of course there is a way, but after hearing that there was a solution, everyone in Tianyuan Mansion widened their eyes. Below, the people on the streets could not help but be overjoyed. So they're saved. Afterwards, Nangong Yu swung a sword towards the sky, and a white light appeared. A hole appeared in the blood sacrifice formation, and then quickly closed. I'm afraid only a few people can get out. My current energy can only support more than 100 swords. Nangong Yu said in a deep voice. As soon as these words were spoken, everyone felt a chill in their hearts. They naturally understood what Nangong Yu meant. They were afraid that only people from Tianyuan Mansion could get out. Even the people in Tianyuan Mansion might be able to get out completely. Thinking of this, the people of the Great Zhou turned extremely pale and looked desperate. Unexpectedly, in the end, they still couldn't survive. They did not blame Tianyuan Mansion, because from their point of view, Tianyuan Mansion was able to help them kill the king of Great Zhou, which was already the most benevolent thing they could do. Moreover, this is a famous supreme saint. Who dares to blame him? As for the Tianyuan army, their expressions remained unchanged. They were all soldiers carefully trained by the Tianyuan Mansion, so they were naturally absolutely loyal to the Tianyuan Mansion. If they could exchange their lives for the lives of the young master and others, they would still be willing to do so. For a moment, the whole atmosphere was extremely depressing. Suli knew she could definitely get out because she was Nangong Chen's Taoist partner, but what about her people? What about her parents and sister? Wang Yuxuan was the same, and she was worried about her own people. Zhou Wan'er didn't have any thoughts. She had been alone all along. It didn't matter whether she went out or died here. Now that she saw the end of King Zhou, she was already satisfied. Lu Rian's beautiful eyes flickered, and she looked downcast. She wondered if they were willing to take her out. The black-robed man couldn't help but laugh when he saw this scene, his expression incomparably crazy. So what if some of them go out? These hundreds of millions of people will become the nourishment for the blood god's revival. You should feel honored. The king of Great Zhou also sneered. By accompanying me in my burial, you can be considered my good subjects. I will remember you. After hearing these words, everyone was furious and looked at the two of them with red eyes. Who told you that this blood sacrifice formation cannot be broken? At this moment, a faint voice sounded. Everyone looked at Nangong Chen. Nangong Chen looked indifferent and spoke calmly, with the aura of a natural king. After hearing this, the man in black robe couldn't help but sneer. If you can break it, I will eat shit on the spot. Noisy, Nangong Chen said in a cold voice, and the next moment, a black flame appeared under the two of them, roasting their souls and making them scream in pain. King Dezhou looked at the man in black robe with resentment. Why do you go and provoke others for no reason? Everyone was terrified when they saw this scene. They could feel that this strange fire was definitely very powerful and could even burn the soul. Chener, is there really a way to break this formation? Nangong Yu asked with his eyes shining. Several women also looked at Nangong Chen, their beautiful eyes shining. After all, Nangong Chen had created too many miracles, and even they were impressed by him. When the Tianyuan army heard this, they were shocked. Is it really possible with the young master's level of cultivation? Of course, if they could survive and continue to serve Tianyuan Mansion, they would naturally be willing to do so. The people on the street were also startled and then smiled bitterly. They guessed that this was what the young master said to comfort them. Young master, you don't need to comfort us like this. In our hearts, you are the pride of our Great Zhou. Yes, if the young master can get out alive, then he will be a hidden dragon emerging from the abyss. It's just a pity that we can't wait until that day. On the street, people were talking with relief, and some even looked relaxed. Nangong Chen remained silent, his eyes tightly closed, his black hair fluttering, runes intertwined around his body. Fairy light entwined him, and his aura was astonishing, like a divine sword in the making. Boom! The next moment, a deafening dragon roar was heard, causing countless people to tremble. Immediately afterwards, a mysterious and powerful aura burst out from Nangong Chen. Everyone's expression changed, and they looked at Nangong Chen. Nangong Chen opened his eyes. His pupils were blazing, emitting golden light. His gaze shot straight up into the sky, reflecting a golden avenue. In the void, the aura of the emperor descended and transformed into countless real dragons. The aura emitted from them alone was enough to dissipate the blood mist in the sky. Nangong Chen stepped on the golden emperor avenue, holding the human emperor's sword in his hand. A terrifying vision suddenly appeared behind him. All the living beings in the 9 heavens and 10 realms were kneeling down to that majestic figure. Chapter 103, Breaking the Formation with One Sword, shocking the audience. Such a huge vision shook the entire universe. He is endowed with the aura of the emperor. His luck is as great as a dragon, and he gathers the faith of all living beings. This is the power that only the emperors of ancient times possess. In the void, Nangong Chen held the human emperor's sword in his hand, with dazzling golden light and his double pupils looking around with disdain. His soaring momentum actually resonated with the way of heaven. Rumble. Dragons and phoenixes are circling, divine light descends from the sky, and all the power of the great Tao of the heavens and all realms is bestowed upon the body. Everyone looked at the tall and majestic figure, and vaguely felt a sense of submission in their hearts. Nangong Chen swept his sword across, and the golden sword light illuminated the sky. The sword's power was astonishing, carrying with it a terrifying divine might. The sword waves that erupted made the entire world tremble. The sword light rushed straight towards the blood sacrifice formation, and the majestic sword intent seemed to tear the entire space apart. Boom! In an instant, the blood sacrifice formation that was said to be unsolvable was shattered in an instant. Thousands of blood and energy collapsed and separated, turning into tiny stars, slowly falling down like a star rain in the sky. Seeing this scene, everyone's eyes were filled with shock. The palpitations I felt before have disappeared. Someone felt a sense of relief in his body and said with a happy expression. After hearing this, the others looked very excited and looked at Nangong Chen's figure in the sky. The young master did it. He saved us. Their eyes were very fiery. In their hearts, Nangong Chen at this moment was no different from a savior. On the Tianyuan Mansion side, the reaction was also very intense. Ha ha! You are worthy of being my grandson. Nangong Yu laughed, his face flushed, and he was very proud. He hasn't been this happy in decades. Su Li's heart finally settled down at this moment. A smile appeared on her beautiful face, and ripples appeared in her beautiful eyes as she stared at the white figure in the sky. Qiao, who was standing aside, had a dazed look on her face, obviously still in shock. What did she see? Nangong Chen actually took out a human emperor sword. That was the legendary divine sword, which had never appeared even in the nine heavens. Yet, he could take it out so easily. After a long time, she finally recovered and looked at Nangong Chen with a complicated look. This boy's identity is definitely not simple. She had some doubts before, but now she is more and more certain that he is definitely the illegitimate son of a powerful person in the nine heavens. But anyway, he is definitely not from Xintian territory. Wang Yuxuan also smiled, showing her fangs, and looked at Nangong Chen with her beautiful eyes. The master is really awesome again. Zhou Wan'er sighed in her heart. The young master is really a miracle worker. Lu Rian's face was filled with complex emotions. Once again, she was saved by Nangong Chen, and behind them, Qi Yun and the other 8 generals looked at Nangong Chen with increasing satisfaction. It seemed that our future would be bright from now on. The Tianyuan army looked at Nangong Chen with fiery eyes. Following the young master was definitely a very correct choice. How is this possible? How is this possible? How could you possibly possess the legendary human emperor sword? At this moment, the black-robed man's spirit spoke crazily, his face full of shock. He didn't expect that Nangong Chen was not just bragging and really broke the blood sacrifice formation. It's over, King Zhou said in a low voice with a look of despair on his face. Then his eyes were filled with resentment, and his heart was filled with resentment. Why? Why is it that Tianyuan Mansion's luck is so good? I don't accept it. Haha, because I have a good son and you don't. At this moment, another figure appeared. It was Nangong Chen. As soon as he arrived, he started laughing, his tone full of pride. After hearing this, King Zhou was also stunned, thinking that all his descendants seemed to have been killed by Nangong Chen. Thinking of this, his face turned pale and blue. In the void, Nangong Chen retracted the human emperor's sword, flicked his sleeves, stepped into the sky, and slowly descended. As expected of my son, he truly has the qualities of a great emperor. Nangong Chen praised, a smile on his face. Why did you come just now? Nangong Chen's expression was very calm. He had long been accustomed to his flattery and was somewhat curious about what he had been doing before. Ha ha! Isn't this just about taking people to kill the remaining remnants of King Zhou? What a waste of time. Damn, who knew this old guy was such a beast that he even united with the blood god cult? Nangong Chen smiled awkwardly. Then his face turned angry and a cold light flashed in his eyes. After hearing this, Nangong Chen nodded, and then set his gaze on the souls of the king of Great Zhou and the other man. At once, everyone realized that there were still 2 beasts that had not been dealt with. If I let you die immediately, I'm afraid it would be too easy for you. Nangong Chen's eyes were cold, and his tone was chilly. After these words were spoken, everyone nodded. Nangong Chen was worrying about how to torture them, when suddenly, Nangong Yu came over, waved his hand, and restored the bodies of the 2 men. What is this? Nangong Chen looked at it with some confusion. Ha ha! This isn't just about restoring their bodies. It's about making their spirits manifest, like living people. Nangong Yu stroked his beard and explained slowly. After hearing this, Nangong Chen's eyes lit up, as if he had thought of something, and said in a cold voice, "Come here, lock this black-robed beast in the cesspool. He's not allowed to come out until he's full. Doesn't he just like to eat and drink for free? Let him eat as much as he wants." After these words came out, the black-robed man's face trembled a little, his eyes were full of fear, and he begged, "No, I was wrong. Please kill me." Everyone showed agreement on their faces, looking extremely relieved. That's what made him so arrogant before. Nangong Yu also smiled. This kid really hold a grudge. Yes. Soon, 2 Tianyuan soldiers came over and dragged him away. At this moment, the souls of both of them were imprisoned. Not only were their strength the same as that of ordinary people, but even their 5 senses were the same. You have humiliated us, the followers of the Blood God cult, in this way. Lord Blood God will not let you go after he wakes up. The voice of the man in black robe was very shrill. Lord Blood God, I will kill anyone from your Blood God sect who comes. Nangong Chen snorted coldly and said disdainfully. Then, everyone turned their attention to the remaining king of Great Zhou. Seeing Nangong Chen's gaze, King Zhou couldn't help but shudder. "What are you going to do to me?" he asked in a trembling voice. His breathing was very unstable and his face was uneasy. Thinking of the miserable end of the man in black robe just now, I am afraid that his end will be even more outrageous. Nangong Chen looked at the crowd below and saw that they were all looking at the king of Great Zhou with hatred in their eyes. Seeing this scene, an idea suddenly came to Nangong Chen's mind. Come here, drag him to the front of the palace, tie him to a stone pillar, and let the world torture him until he dies. Nangong Chen said indifferently. After hearing these words, King Zhou turned extremely pale and his body trembled uncontrollably. No, no, just kill me, please. Seeing the hateful eyes of the civilians below, he knew that he would be in trouble. He felt very aggrieved at the thought of being tortured by these commoners whom he usually didn't even bother to look at. This was the greatest humiliation for him. Yes, the two Tianyuan soldiers said respectfully, came out and dragged the king of Zhou away. No, King Zhou howled in pain and struggled to break free. But as a mortal, how could he break free? Chapter 104. 1 month later, the decisive battle on the top of Chu Family Mountain. On the streets, some people had tears in their eyes, clenched their fists, and the flames of hatred burning in their eyes. These people were the parents whose children had been brutally murdered by King Zhou, and their hatred for King Zhou had reached its extreme. Now, thanks to the young master, they finally have the chance to take revenge. Of course, not only them, but also more people in the imperial capital were filled with anger, wishing to tear the king of Zhou into pieces. If it weren't for the young master's divine power today, they would probably all have died here. Thank you, young master. At this moment, these people, with burning eyes, spoke sincerely in unison. In their hearts, Nangong Chen is undoubtedly the savior of the Great Zhou. Nangong Chen looked indifferent, nodded slightly, and did not respond much. Of course, just this action alone made many girls in the imperial capital scream. Soon, these people marched towards the gate of the imperial palace like a torrent. It is conceivable how miserable the end of the king of the Great Zhou would be. Nangong Chen focused his eyes and saw a black figure quietly leaving. A smile appeared on the corner of his mouth. Not far away, in the surrounding area, a group of people were extremely surprised. These people were wearing tight clothes, had big bodies, and well-developed muscles. They were the people from Howren Pavilion who came to return the fairy crystals. Russian, are you sure we're not going the wrong way? The elder who was accompanying Howren Pavilion asked with a dazed look on his face. Obviously, the strange visions that just occurred in the sky above the Great Zhou Dynasty had given him a great shock. In the 9 heavens and 10 realms, all living beings came to pay homage. Russian secretly swallowed his saliva, shook his head, and responded in a firm tone. Master, we're not mistaken. The one ahead is indeed the Great Zhou Dynasty, and the one with double pupils is right there. After hearing this, the yellow-robed elder's pupils shrank slightly, and a bold guess emerged in his mind. Could it be that all those strange phenomena just now were caused by people with double pupils? If that's true, it would be too scary. Originally, he was still somewhat upset about Nangong Chen taking 10 immortal crystals from their Howren Pavilion, but now it seems that this thought has disappeared. Check to see if you have all 10 immortal crystals, the yellow-robed elder suddenly asked. After hearing this, Russian quickly opened the big box on his back. After checking that everything was correct, he nodded and breathed a sigh of relief. Elder, bring them all. Not one is missing. That's good. The elder in yellow robe stroked his beard and continued to march forward in a mighty manner. China, on the top floor of the Tianji Pavilion, an old man in a white robe, after seeing the strange scene in Dongshenzhou, his pupils shrank slightly, and then he counted with his fingers and actually spat out a mouthful of blood. This person is none other than the head of Tianji Pavilion, Bai Wudao. Impossible. Such a thing cannot appear in the Xintian realm. Who could it be? Bai Wudao was horrified, as if what he had just calculated shocked him. Immediately afterwards, Bai Wudao closed his eyes, made hand gestures, and muttered something. In his mind, there was chaos and nothingness. All living beings in the 9 heavens and 10 realms were actually worshipping him, and all gods and demons were bowing down to him. Bai Wudao was deeply shocked and tried hard to see who this person was. Boom! Suddenly, a bolt of lightning struck his mind, as if he had suffered a huge blow. Suddenly, blood started flowing from all 7 orifices, and he fainted. He didn't see the true face, but just saw the tip of the iceberg of the back, and he suffered such a huge backlash. Before this, he had never been so embarrassed. Qianlong Dynasty. Inside the palace. That was a close call. If it weren't for this drop of blood, I would have been killed by the one with double pupils. On the luxurious mattress, Prince Aolong suddenly woke up and said with a lucky look on his face, The servants beside him were also shocked when they saw it. "Sir, you're back." Prince Aolong ignored him. His eyes were extremely cold, like an ice cave above the nine heavens, emitting a terrifying, murderous intent. In his heart, endless anger was burning. A person with double pupils can actually push things to this extent. Great, great. In the distance, a powerful figure appeared. After seeing Prince Aolong, his face was shocked. "Prince, you're back." This person has wings behind him and horns on his head. He is a strong man among the demon clan, and also the confidant of Prince Aolong. When he saw that Prince Aolong was silent, he seemed to have thought of something. "Prince, could it be that you are exactly who?" "I will kill him," Inyo asked with a cold gaze, emitting a powerful aura. Someone actually beat out the prince's blood and essence. Damn it! Prince Aolong just shook his head with a gloomy look in his eyes. Although he was arrogant, the aura displayed by Nangong Chen that day was not inferior to his at all. This shows that Nangong Chen was very confident. If we send winged ox there, there's a high probability that he will be killed there. Of course, we can't just let it go like this. Prince Aolong had a vicious look in his eyes as he pondered in his heart. Soon, earth-shaking news came from the Tianyuan Immortal Dynasty. Prince Aolong seemed to have lost the battle with a man with double pupils in East Shenzhou and made a harsh statement that he would have a decisive battle with a man with double pupils on the top of Chu Family Mountain in a month. When this news came out, countless people were shocked. The popularity of people with double pupils has been very high recently. Many people even suspect that people with double pupils are just a name only and cannot reach the 10th place on the heavenly ranking. Unexpectedly, once this news came out, it slapped that group of people in the face. Prince Aolong is a well-known evildoer in the Xiantian domain, ranking 7th on the heavenly ranking, and he was actually no match for the person with double pupils. Doesn't that indirectly prove that the person with double pupils is far stronger than the 10th on the heavenly ranking? Now, some of the questioning voices have gradually disappeared, but there are still some people who don't believe it and keep making statements. So what if he manages to win against Prince Aolong? I'm afraid that in a month, the one with double pupils will be beaten to the point of crying out in despair. Yeah, no one saw the fight between him and Prince Aolong at the time. Maybe he used some cunning tactics to win. I heard that Prince Aolong is infatuated with the saintess of the Chu family. This time, Prince Aolong chose to have a decisive battle on the Chu family mountaintop. It seems he wants to show off in front of the saintess. It is said that the person with double pupils has some connection with the saintess of the Chu family. If he loses, I'm afraid his face will be too ugly. Haha. Chapter 105 Dragon Vein Crisis Layout. The Dragon Vein of the Great Zhou Dynasty. The 10 Directions of Mountains. After the senior officials of Tianyuan Mansion arrived at this world, they couldn't help but frown when they saw the scene in front of them. After the Great Zhou Dragon Vein was devoured, the spiritual energy in this space was almost gone, and wild grass grew everywhere, like a land of end. Moreover, this scene continued to spread until it covered the entire Great Zhou. Nangong Chen saw this scene, his eyes filled with anger, and he said, "That son of a bitch king of Great Zhou actually gave away the entire dragon vein, leaving nothing behind. What a beast! You must know that dragon veins are of vital importance. Only with dragon veins can there be abundant spiritual energy and rich resources. The key is that dragon veins can influence the fortune of country. It is obvious that now that the dragon vein of the Great Zhou has disappeared, this place is no longer suitable for human habitation. For some cultivators, this is a fatal blow, especially the Tianyuan Mansion, as the top force in the Xintian realm. If it lacks the support of spiritual energy and the bonus of luck, its combat effectiveness will be greatly reduced. What should we do? Should we look for another paradise? An elderly elder of the tribe spoke with a worried look in his eyes. Nangong had been silent, his brows furrowed, when he suddenly said, "How about I go and extract the dragon veins from the other 3 dynasties in eastern Shenzhou? If I combine them, they might be even stronger than the previous ones." He stroked his beard, his eyes flashing with coldness. As soon as these words were spoken, everyone's eyes lit up and they nodded. What a great idea. This group of people grew up in the Great Zhou Dynasty. Apart from anything else, they still have some feelings for each other. Come on, the dragon vein is a spiritual object. If we forcibly extract it and force it onto the Great Zhou, I'm afraid its effectiveness will not even be 1/10 of what it was before, and there will be risks. Nangong Chen thought about it and rejected the idea. After hearing this, everyone became a little depressed and their faces looked gloomy. It seems that we have to find another paradise to settle down. Nangong Chen was also helpless. He didn't want to leave this familiar world. Of course, this was a decision he had to make. Soon, the group left. Soon, a piece of news spread in Tianyuan Mansion that the dragon veins in Zhou were no longer there. The king of Great Zhou has drained all the dragon veins away, leaving nothing behind. Before long, the entire Great Zhou will become a land of doom. After hearing this news, the entire Zhou was shocked. Some forces that have been stationed in the Great Zhou for thousands of years cannot be moved away overnight. This is a heavy blow to them. Many leaders of the Great Zhou forces even had their hair turn white overnight. They were overwhelmed with thoughts and didn't know how to deal with this situation. This place is thousands of miles away from other dynasties. Where else can they go? And for those civilians, it is also a serious disaster, because dragon veins will affect the national destiny. If there are no dragon veins, natural disasters will continue. These natural disasters are simply not worth mentioning for cultivators, but for these civilians, they will cost lives. For a time, people throughout the Great Zhou were in panic and very worried. Soon, just when everyone didn't know what to do, Tianyuan Mansion released another piece of news. That is, Tianyuan Mansion knows there is a solution and invites the leaders of these forces, or people with lofty ideals, to go to the palace to discuss it in 3 days. As soon as this news came out, hope was restored in people's eyes all over the world, and they were filled with joy. The leaders of those forces breathed a sigh of relief. They had racked their brains in the past few days, but could not come up with any solution. Many people secretly decided that they must go to the palace in a few days to see how Tianyuan Mansion would solve the problem. At this moment, in their hearts, Tianyuan Mansion is undoubtedly the most authoritative organization in the entire Great Zhou, which can be seen from the previous events. Some people sneered and expressed their disdain. Most of these people are remnants of the royal family of the Great Zhou Dynasty. Now they're being hunted down by everyone, like rats crossing the street. When they heard that the dragon vein of the Great Zhou was gone, they were extremely excited, because this was a good opportunity to escape from the Great Zhou. And it just so happened that in recent days, Tianyuan Mansion had relaxed restrictions, and people could go out freely, which made them secretly say that God was helping them. At this moment, outside the border of the Northern Territory, another group of people came over. They were wearing gray robes and wrapped up tightly, with only a pair of eyes exposed. "You're going out too, right?" asked the Tianyuan army soldier wearing armor at the door. "That's right." The leader suppressed his excitement and said in a deep voice, "Okay, you guys go out." A Tianyuan soldier stepped forward, marked them, and then let them go. After hearing this, the group of people left quickly without looking back. Just high up in the pavilion, there was a figure looking at this place quietly with a sneer on his lips. It seems that it's just as Chunner said. These remnants of the party are eager to leave this place immediately. I hope they don't regret it. After all, this is a place where you can only leave but not come in. Nangong Chen murmured. Below. Hey, more and more people are going out recently. Do you think we should go out too? Not far away, a resident saw this scene and said worriedly. Soon, an old man came over and hit him hard on the head with a hammer. Go out. You're such a fool. Tianyuan Mansion has announced that they will definitely solve the dragon vein problem. Hurry up and herd cattle. After hearing this, the middle-aged man quickly responded and left. In the past few days, most of the people who left were monks. If these mortals left here, there would probably be no chance of survival. After the group of gray-robed men walked a certain distance, they looked back in shock and found that they had gone far away. They could not contain their joy. Ha ha! Those people from Tianyuan Mansion are such idiots. They actually let us go so easily. Do they know what it means to let a tiger go back to the mountain? A man in a gray robe pulled off his mask and said excitedly, if Nangong Chen were here, he would definitely recognize that this person was Zhou Bai, who was scared to the point of incontinence by him at the wedding banquet. That's right. The other forces are really stupid. They actually believe the nonsense of Tianyuan Mansion. Can Tianyuan Mansion really conjure up a dragon vein out of thin air? How ridiculous! Another person echoed, with a look of disdain on his face. Zhou Bai's eyes were icy as he said viciously, Nangong Chen insulted me before. This time, we're going to venture out into the world, and this is our chance to rise. I must become stronger and kill Nangong Chen in the future. As soon as these words were spoken, Everyone's eyes were filled with passion, and their faces showed admiration. The prince is mighty and will surely restore the glory of our Great Zhou in the future. Yeah, maybe those idiots will die there early because of the problem with the dragon vein. Everyone laughed. Chapter 106. Ancient Battlefield. Howren Pavilion arrives. In Tianyuan Mansion, Nangong Chen opened the storage ring that Prince Aolong had previously belonged to, and indeed found the 3 sword embryo fragments inside. It seems that it is just as I expected. This Prince Aolong wanted to collect all these sword embryo fragments. Unfortunately, he met me. Now, everything is up to me, Nangong Chen muttered to himself, his eyes flashing as he looked at the 4 amber-like sword embryo fragments on the table. There was another piece that belonged to the Red Flame Sword King. Seeing that he was interested, he took the initiative to hand it over. Nangong Chen was also very satisfied with this. He played with the sword embryo fragments, his eyes deep, and no one knew what he was thinking. According to the prophecy in the legend, there should be 5 pieces left. By gathering all 9 sword embryo fragments, a sword embryo can be synthesized. It is said that it is also the key to the Chaos Ancient Battlefield, one of the 9 legendary battlefields. At this moment, the system prompt suddenly sounded. Please go to the Chaos Ancient Battlefield to sign in. Nangong Chen was a little surprised. He didn't expect that this would trigger the mission. Isn't that like getting a good thing for free? What a pleasant surprise. At this moment, Nangong Chen was even more determined to collect all 9 pieces of the sword embryo fragments. Then, Nangong Chen looked into the distance. His face was as handsome as a banished immortal, and his eyes were like stars. If someone saw this scene at this time, they would definitely say in their hearts that this young master is unparalleled in the world. However, the harvest this time is indeed quite big. He conquered the 4 great sword sects and even took the Great Zhou Dynasty into his possession. Although Nangong Chen had no intention of becoming a monarch, he was still very satisfied to have such a force under his command. Moreover, with the blessing of the Imperial Dragon Vein, this Great Zhou will surely become a great help to him in the future. Just then, a pleasant voice was heard outside. Young master, the people from Howren Pavilion are here to return the immortal crystals. Outside, Wang Yuxuan said respectfully. After hearing this, Nangong Chen's eyes flickered and his look was meaningful. Yuran Pavilion? I didn't expect them to still remember it. Even he had forgotten it a little. Thinking of this, he looked a little disappointed. If Howren Pavilion hadn't come, we could have asked for more. What a pity. I wonder when a young master can come. An elder from Howren Pavilion asked the question very sincerely. At this moment, he was sitting on a luxurious chair, feeling a little nervous, with even some cold sweat on his forehead. According to his perception, there were many powerful gazes inside the Tianyuan Mansion, spying on him. He was extremely shocked. He had not expected that a force in a small dynasty would have a stronger foundation than some of the top forces in central China. Possessing such strength and hiding in a small dynasty, he is simply a super old villain. In his mind, Tianyuan Mansion has been labeled as a place that must not be provoked. In the future, he will even tell the disciples in their pavilion not to provoke those with double pupils. Now it seems that there is a reason why the man with double pupils can defeat Prince Aolong and even the evildoers in central Shenzhou. Elder Xiong, just wait a moment. The young master will be here soon. Wang Yuxuan spoke with a smile on her face, looking extremely pure. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Elder Xiong bowed and said with great gratitude. If no one responded to him, wouldn't it be so embarrassing? Now in the hall, apart from him, a group of Yu Russian's disciples and an elder sent by Tianyuan Mansion, there was no one else to entertain them. Of course, they could also understand that such a hidden family would naturally be extremely arrogant. If the pavilion master came, he would probably be able to see the person behind the Tianyuan Mansion. Big brother, do you think that person with double pupils is really that scary? A disciple asked in a low voice, looking at Yu Russian with eyes full of curiosity. The disciples around him were all like this, admiring and curious about the person with double pupils that Yu Russian mentioned. According to Yu Russian's narration, they can be regarded as the little fans of those with double pupils. It's very scary. Just don't provoke him later, Yu Russian said with a bitter face. At that time, the man with double pupils was in the Nine Heavens secret realm, but he left a terrifying impression on him. After hearing this, these disciples became more curious and looked at the door with great anticipation. Soon, a figure appeared, dressed in white and walking slowly towards them. He had an extraordinary temperament and was surrounded by divine light and immortal aura, just like a god-king in white. When the people from Howren Pavilion saw this, their eyes widened with fear in their eyes. Those double pupils were extremely terrifying. When they opened and closed, there was a vision of the destruction of heaven and earth, which made Elder Xiong, who was in the quasi-saint realm, feel a little nervous. Is this the legendary person with double pupils? He truly possesses the demeanor of a king. After seeing it, the disciples' expressions became even more admiring. This was even more extraordinary than the image they had imagined in their minds. After Urushan sensed this breath, his pupils shrank slightly, and he sighed. He is actually stronger than before. Seeing someone with double pupils today, it really proves the saying, heroes emerge young. Elder Xiong said in shock, with an admiring look on his face. He could feel that Nangong Chen's body was very strong, even more than one level stronger than those of their body-refining disciples. This was what shocked him the most. Elder, you're joking. Thank you all for coming here from afar today. Nangong Chen bowed and said in a gentle voice, thanks to the young master for saving our disciples in the Nine Heavens secret realm that day. I am truly grateful. Come, give us our immortal crystals. Elder Xiong spoke very generously. Urushan behind him also obediently opened the big box. Soon, a mist of fairy light emerged, carrying with it a pure spiritual energy. Nangong Chen took a glance with an indifferent expression, but was a little surprised that there were 10 more fairy crystals. When Elder Xiong saw this, he smiled and said, the other 10 pieces are a small token of our appreciation to Howren Pavilion. We hope that young master can look after our disciples in the future, as long as it is within your ability. Nangong Chen nodded slightly. He understood that if they were out and about and the other party's disciples were in danger, they should help if they could, but if they couldn't, then forget it. They didn't kidnap them by force, which was quite good. Seeing Nangong Chen nod, Elder Xiong breathed a sigh of relief. It seems that people with double pupils are not as unreasonable as people say. In that case, I'll take my leave now. Elder Xiong and the others bowed and greeted him, then left. Chapter 107 Prince A.O. Long speaks again. Time passed quickly, and half a month passed in the blink of an eye. As the declaration of war was issued, Nangong Chen did not respond for a long time. Everyone couldn't help but speculate that the man with double pupils who had always been invincible was probably afraid of Prince A.O. Long. This action boosted the morale of Prince A.O. Long's followers, and they all started to mock the man with double pupils. In my opinion, the fact that the man with double pupils was able to defeat Prince A.O. Long must have been due to some hidden reason. Otherwise, why would he have been so slow to come and join the battle? Ha! I didn't expect that the master with double pupils who shocked Xintian territory would be so timid. I am so disappointed. As these remarks fermented, some girls who supported Nangong Chen became extremely angry. They felt that since Prince A.O. Long had such a bad character, those with double pupils would definitely not bother to fight him. In fact, it was just as they thought. Nangong Chen had no intention of engaging in battle with Prince A.O. Long at all. An enemy defeated by me. Is he worthy of being called an opponent? Even if I give him a million chances, he still has no chance of winning. In the Qianlong Immortal Dynasty, in front of a luxurious palace. Congratulations to the Crown Prince for the successful dragon blood marrow wash. The group of people, with fiery eyes, spoke respectfully in unison. These people have strong auras, cold eyes, and a vigorous blood energy in their bodies. They are all the prides of Qianlong Immortal Dynasty. After seeing this, Prince A.O. Long was very satisfied. His aura was as deep as the ocean, and when his eyes opened and closed, a hint of dragon power appeared, which shocked everyone present. Unexpectedly, after washing his marrow with dragon blood, the prince became even more powerful than before. Everyone could even feel that the prince could sweep them away with just one move. Is this the prince after being washed in dragon blood? The eyes of these talented people who followed him became more and more passionate. With the prince here, all the talented people in the world would probably be eclipsed. Soon, everyone was praising him one after another and talking about what had happened recently. Who would have thought that after hearing Nangong Chen, Prince Aolong's eyes flashed with coldness, and he said, is he still afraid to fight? Yes, half a month has passed, and there has been no news at all. Someone responded cautiously. Prince A.O. Long remained silent, his eyes gleaming coldly, and an extreme murderous intent burst out. Ever since he was humiliated by Nangong Chen that day, he's been holding a grudge in his heart, and the anger is getting stronger and stronger. Pass the order. If the one with double pupils doesn't dare to fight, after the immortal hiding is over, I will personally come to the gate of Tianyuan Mansion and wipe out all the geniuses in their mansion. Let's see if he still acts like a coward. Prince Aolong said in a cold voice, filled with anger. Yes. Everyone responded respectfully, their hearts filled with shock. I didn't expect that the prince would actually go to Tianyuan Mansion to block the gate of the man with double pupils. This is going to be a good show. At this moment, as the life story of the man with double pupils was revealed, more and more people learned that the power behind the man with double pupils was called Tianyuan Mansion, a small force within the dynasty. Soon, Prince Aolong said that if the person with double pupils did not accept the challenge, he would go to block the gate of Tianyuan Mansion after the end of the Immortal Hidden. When this news came out, the popularity of the two people instantly reached a new height. Many people are looking forward to it. What kind of expression would the person with double pupils have if he knew about this? Everyone looked at him with amusement, and they wished that the person with double pupils would fall down from that position. After all, the higher you stand, the more painful it will be when you fall. They like to see such scenes, which makes them feel extremely comfortable. At this moment, in the entire Xintian domain, whether it is the top forces, the ancient sects, or the ancient families, they're all paying great attention to this matter, and they have different purposes. That is to see if we can find out the power behind the person with double pupils. Is it a tiger or a cat? On the other side, after Chu Xing learned about this, he also came to Chu Yin and said indignantly, Sister, this Prince Aolong is too arrogant. He doesn't even take my brother-in-law seriously. Chu Yan's face was stunning. She took a sip of tea and said calmly, Why? Are you going to challenge Prince Aolong? After hearing this, Chu Xing also laughed awkwardly and said, How is that possible? With my strength, I would be defeated if I went up there. But I think that a man as extraordinary as my brother-in-law is definitely not as feared as people say. You must be disdainful of this shitty Prince Aolong. Sister, you think so too, right? Then, Chu Xing spoke up again and looked at Chu Yan. Chu Yan's beautiful face nodded slightly. By the way, pass on my order to give those with double pupils 2 more places in the immortal treasures. Chu Yan said lightly, her beautiful eyes shining. Of course, she forgot that the white-haired woman next to Nangong Chen seemed to be as powerful as her. If she could do the other party a favor, she would still be willing to invest. Sister, however, the quota is of great importance and cannot be given away casually. I'm afraid it will cause criticism from other members of the clan. Chu Xing hesitated for a moment but still said it. It doesn't matter. I will suppress anyone who dares to speak out. Chu Yin disagreed and said in a cold voice, her tone full of coercion. In the palace of the Great Zhou Dynasty, many people of noble status gathered at this moment. There were not many people, about 40 or 50, and most of them were leaders of the remaining forces. Of course, Wang Xiong and Su Ming were present. Today is the day when Tianyuan Mansion meets to discuss how to resolve the Dragon Vein issue. When it comes to discussing how to solve the problem, it actually depends on Tianyuan Mansion. If they have a way, then everything will naturally be solved. The key still lies in Tianyuan Mansion. I never thought that one day, my Great Zhou would wither like this. In the hall, someone couldn't help but sigh and lament. After hearing this, everyone nodded, looking a little lonely. Since the disappearance of the Dragon Vein, until today, more and more forces have chosen to move out of Tianyuan Mansion. That is, to leave this place, including many of their old acquaintances. The remaining people are all full of affection for the Great Zhou, or are on the same front with the Tianyuan Mansion. In short, the remaining royal family members of the Great Zhou and the forces that have always been hostile to the Tianyuan Mansion have all fled. If they didn't escape, they knew that death would be waiting for them. As for those mortals, the number of people who left the Great Zhou was very small, almost non-existent. In their hearts, Nangong Chen represents Tianyuan Mansion. They have no choice but to believe in Tianyuan Mansion and believe that they will definitely find a way to solve the problem. They place their last straw of life on Nangong Chen. If Tianyuan Mansion can't find a solution today, then there really is no hope. At this moment, someone whispered. After hearing this, Wang Xiong's eyes widened and he shouted, Tianyuan Mansion said there is a way. Then there is a way. Wasn't it the young master who solved the problem when we were trapped in the blood sacrifice formation before? When these words were spoken, Some people lower their heads in guilt, but some also raise their voices in doubt. I admit that the young master saved us and he has done us a great favor. But given the current situation in the Great Zhou, things like dragon veins cannot be conjured up easily. Alas, the man had gray hair and a face full of vicissitudes of life, and he sighed. Chapter 108 Tianyuan Divine Dynasty. Some people recognized this person and were a little surprised. The old man's name is Wei Zhong. He is a good minister who has dedicated his entire life to the Great Zhou and its people. Before this, Wei Zhong was still energetic and his hair was not gray. Unexpectedly, the incident of the dragon vein had such a great impact on him that his hair turned snow white overnight. Of course, more of it happened before. Because Wei Zhong was too straightforward in his words, he was imprisoned in a dungeon by the king of Zhou for many years and was only released recently. These words touched everyone's heart. Yes, dragon veins are not ordinary things. They can't just appear. Thinking of this, there was a hint of worry in everyone's eyes. The young master is here. Soon, a loud voice spread throughout the hall. After hearing this, these people were also shocked. They quickly adjusted their posture and looked respectful. Now Nangong Chen's reputation is at its peak throughout the Great Zhou. His status is unparalleled and his achievements surpass his master. Everyone knows him. A figure in white slowly approached, surrounded by fairy light and extraordinary spirit. The aura it exuded became more ethereal and mysterious, like a fairy banished to the earth. After seeing this, everyone couldn't help but be shocked. Everyone, I've been waiting for a long time, Nangong Chen said lightly. Behind him were Wang Yuxuan and Zhou Waner. After Wang Xiong saw Wang Yuxuan, a genuine smile appeared on his rough face, and he looked at Su Ming with some comparison. It seems that his daughter holds a very high position in the young master's heart. Su Ming was somewhat disapproving. After all, his daughter was the young master's wife, so he was naturally fearless. Nangong Chen walked straight to the dragon throne, and in front of everyone's witness, he sat on it very naturally, looking down at them. Sure enough, this dragon chair is still comfortable. Nangong Chen sighed inwardly, and looking down, he felt as if he could see the whole world. All under heaven belongs to the king. With such power, we can blame the emergence of so many tyrants. After all, the temptations are too great. When Wang Yuxuan and Zhou Waner saw this, they were a little stunned. Then a smile appeared in their beautiful eyes. They came behind Nangong Chen and helped him massage. After seeing this scene, everyone was also extremely shocked. Could it be that Nangong Chen wanted to establish his own dynasty? Soon, many powerful figures appeared in the void. When the people present saw this, their pupils shrank slightly and their faces were filled with shock. It was the top brass of Tianyuan Mansion. When they saw Nangong Chen sitting on the dragon throne, the corners of their mouths twitched. You have a bright future. You became the emperor at such a young age. Nangong Wentian gave him a thumbs up and praised him. You asked us to come here. Don't you really want to be the emperor? Nangong Zhan said speechlessly, with a frown on his face. He didn't expect that his son would become emperor before him. When he was young, he was really eager for this position. Nangong Chen smiled and said, Isn't this to warm up the seat for you in advance? After hearing this, Nangong Zhan was a little confused. What did it mean to warm up the seat for me in advance? Nangong Chen smiled, his eyes deep. Without further explanation, he looked down and spoke slowly. Now that the remnants of the Great Zhou are gone, even some forces that were once hostile to us have retreated. It can be said that the entire Great Zhou is now ruled by our Tianyuan Mansion. As for you all, you have always been allies of Tianyuan Mansion and are on the same front with us. Naturally, I have nothing to hide and am willing to share my thoughts with you all. That is, I want to create a dynasty, and I will name it Tianyuan Divine Dynasty. When these words were spoken, everyone was shocked. They didn't expect that this kid really wanted to create a new dynasty, named after the Divine Dynasty, spanning the eternity of history. This kid has quite the ambition. Nangong Zhan touched his chin, his eyes flashing. The leaders of those forces were extremely excited as they had finally waited for this day. Didn't they support Tianyuan Mansion so early on because they hoped that they could overthrow the Great Zhou and establish a new dynasty? Now, as dawn finally arrived, some of them were filled with tears. Young master, I understand your feelings, but without the dragon vein, how can we establish a dynasty? Suddenly, a voice rang out. When everyone looked over, they saw Wei Zhong with gray hair and a frown on his face. Wei Zhong then continued, If a dynasty is founded without the support of a dragon vein, it will undoubtedly lead to destruction, harming the country and the people. The people will suffer terribly. Every word he said was sincere, and his tone seemed to blame Nangong Chen. As soon as these words came out, everyone was silent and looked at him in shock. How dare you say these words? If you make Nangong Chen angry, you won't know how you died. Many people remained silent and shook their heads secretly. It seemed that Wei Zhong was in great danger today. Suming also looked at Wei Zhong with some regret. He and the other party were old acquaintances, and he couldn't bear to see him lose his life. Oh, interesting. What's your name? Under the cautious gaze of the crowd, Nangong Chen asked calmly with a hint of appreciation in his eyes. There are not many people who are so brave to speak the truth. After hearing this, these people were a little surprised. What did they hear? The young master did not blame Wei Zhong, but instead seemed to praise him. You know, if the king of Zhou had heard these words before, he would probably have sent Wei Zhong to dungeon again. Young master, my name is Wei Zhong. Wei Zhong spoke without being humble or arrogant. Nangong Chen nodded slightly. He had some impression of this name. His father had mentioned it before. It seems that when the king of Zhou was in court, Wei Zhong often said some unpleasant words and was often sent to jail by the king of Zhou. He thought this person was quite interesting at that time. Wei Zhong, right? Please continue. Nangong Chen said lightly, his eyes deep. After hearing this, Wei Zhong's eyes lit up. He had already prepared himself to be thrown into the dungeon, but he didn't expect that this would be the result today. Now that the Great Zhou has lost its dragon vein, its spiritual energy has dissipated. Without the nourishment of spiritual energy, the land cannot grow crops at all. As a result, many civilians can only survive by relying on previously stored food. If we establish a country now, it will probably be a burden to them. The most important issue at present is this dragon vein. Wei Zhong continued, his tongue clearly sticking out. Yes, you're right. Without a dragon vein, it is indeed impossible to establish a dynasty. But who told you that I don't have a dragon vein? Nangong Chen said calmly, and then changed the subject. As soon as he finished speaking, a dragon roar that shook the sky rang out. Chapter 109 Spiritual Rain appears. Along with this resounding dragon roar, the scene in the sky suddenly changed. Countless spiritual rains poured down, rosy clouds emerged, and purple air came from the east. Countless phantoms appeared in the void. They were wearing imperial robes and were all emperors of all generations in the 9 heavens and 10 realms. These phantoms kowtowed with every step, with pious expressions, as if welcoming the birth of the common ruler of the world. All nations came to pay tribute. This scene was really too shocking. In the palace, everyone rushed over after hearing the sound, and their pupils couldn't help but dilate after seeing it. At this moment, people in the streets and alleys of the Zhou came out excitedly, cheering, with passion in their eyes. You know, since the dragon vein disappeared, not a drop of rain has fallen in the territory of the Zhou until today, and some crops are almost drying up and dying. What shocked them the most was that the spiritual rain from the sky seemed to have magical powers. In an instant, it made the withered crops on the ground grow and sprout new green leaves. Oh my God, this rain is so magical. Is it a gift from heaven? An old farmer carrying a bamboo basket said in shock. He had lived for so many years, but he had never seen such a magical scene. When Wei Zhong, who was far outside the palace, saw this, his face was filled with joy and excitement. At the same time, he was a little puzzled as to why the spiritual rain suddenly fell. Thinking of what Nangong Chen had just said, Wei Zhong was suddenly shocked and seemed to understand something. Could it be that the dragon vein that the young master talked about is real? The land of the Zhou is too barren. No matter in what aspect, it cannot accommodate the imperial dragon vein. Before the dragon vein is activated, spiritual rain will naturally fall to improve the quality of this world. At this time, Nangong Chen, dressed in white, stood with his hands behind his back and spoke slowly. After hearing this explanation, everyone was also suddenly enlightened. It turns out that these spiritual rains are also part of the dragon veins and are meant to improve this world. What did you say? What's the name of this dragon vein? Suddenly, Nangong Yu asked excitedly. He seemed to have read something wrong in an ancient book, if I remember correctly. Everyone also turned their eyes to look at Nangong Chen. The imperial dragon vein. Nangong Chen said calmly with a calm expression. When Nangong Yu heard it again, it was like a bolt from the blue. His old face was filled with excitement, turned red, and his body was shaking. No one knows how he feels at this moment. The Imperial Dragon Vein is the legendary Heavenly Dragon Vein. After seeing this scene, everyone was also extremely confused. What was so powerful about this Imperial Dragon Vein that could make a generation of saints so excited? At the same time, they also had a question in their minds. Wasn't this Dragon Vein obtained by Tianyuan Mansion? Why didn't even they know it? Nangong Chen looked at Nangong Chen and said in surprise, "What kind of Dragon Vein did you bring back that shocked this old man so much?" Nangong Chen smiled without saying anything, his eyes full of meaning. The two women behind him looked at Nangong Chen with admiration, their beautiful eyes shining. As soon as these words were spoken, everyone's eyes were filled with shock, feeling a little unbelievable. This new Dragon Vein was actually brought back by the young master. Could it be that the young master has been silent all this time, hunting for Dragon Veins? At this moment, thinking about what had happened recently, their imaginations were frantically racing. Then, they looked at Nangong Chen with eyes full of respect. Soon, Nangong Yu recovered and spoke in shock. This Imperial Dragon Vein, if I remember correctly, is the legendary Heavenly Dragon Vein. He looked at Nangong Chen, his face full of disbelief. When everyone heard this, they were stunned. After they realized what was going on, they showed expressions of ecstasy. This is actually a Heavenly Great Dragon Vein. Wang Xiong couldn't help but swear, and his body was shaking a little. People who knew him knew that it was because he was too excited. What does Heaven Grade mean? Previously, the Dragon Veins of the Great Zhou were only at the lowest yellow grade, the lowest among them. Unexpectedly, the Dragon Vein that the young master brought back spanned 4 levels. It directly reached the top of the Heavenly Great Dragon Vein. Even some immortal dynasties and imperial dynasties are only at the Xian level or Huang level. In other words, their Tianyuan divine dynasty started with a powerful attack. Thinking of this, they understood why the young master named the general divine dynasty. These local heroes and bigwigs all had fiery expressions on their faces at this moment. Young master is truly a god descended to the world, a supreme being. Yes, if it weren't for the young master turning the tide, I'm afraid we wouldn't know what to do. Ha ha ha. If those people who left the Great Zhou before knew about this, they would probably regret it to death. These people spoke in high tones, one word at a time. But there is no doubt that when talking about Nangong Chen, his heart is full of admiration. Nangong Chen was calm and didn't explain too much. It is also more beneficial for him that these people deify him and worship him. This spiritual reign is not as simple as it seems. It will be of great help to you. You can also go forward and get wet. You may gain unexpected benefits. Suddenly, Nangong Chen spoke. As soon as he finished speaking, a gust of wind blew over, and those who were talking before had already disappeared from the spot. They had long discovered that this spiritual reign had miraculous effects, but they did not dare to go because of their face. Nangong Chen's sudden reminder gave them a way out, which is why they did this. You guys go too. Feeling that the two women behind him were somewhat moved, Nangong Chen spoke gently. Young master, aren't you going? Wang Yuxuan tilted her head and asked. Zhou Waner also looked over, somewhat puzzled. Nangong Chen shook his head and said slowly, with my super 9th grade talent, this spiritual reign won't improve me much. The implication is that it doesn't help me much, and that's because I've reached the end of my talent. Hearing such Versailles words, the two women looked at each other with resentment and disappeared from the spot in a flash. On the streets of Dezhou, some people gradually felt that something was wrong. After being caught in the rain, it seemed as if their tendons and veins had been washed clean. Even some mortals with first-grade talent could feel the presence of spiritual energy after being caught in the rain, which means they could practice. I can practice now. Dad, Mom, I can actually practice now. One of the teenagers said excitedly, looking at his parents. His parents were very happy, their eyes sparkling, and they hugged each other. This scene was constantly happening in the Great Zhou Dynasty. Chapter 110. 1 month later, the Divine Dynasty was established. Finally, as the last drop of spiritual rain fell, a gorgeous rainbow rose in the sky. I actually broke through from the 4th rank to the 5th rank. Su Ming thought in shock after feeling the changes in his body. The changes brought about by this spiritual rain are too incredible. At this moment, not only the common people, but also the other cultivators noticed the changes in themselves, with a look of astonishment in their eyes. They never imagined that after getting caught in the rain, their cultivation aptitude could be improved. Soon, a dragon roar rose in the void, and a nine-clawed golden dragon circled there. The nine-clawed golden dragon was extremely domineering, and its body carried a mighty imperial power, which made everyone feel fear and want to submit. The nine-clawed golden dragon is a symbol of auspiciousness. When the people saw it, they all knelt down and kowtowed. In front of the palace, Nangong Chen watched this scene with his eyes flashing. Is this nine-clawed golden dragon the imperial dragon vein? This one was much bigger than the little loach he had seen before from Dezhou, and they were completely on a different scale. Beside Nangong Chen, at this moment, the senior executives of Tianyuan Mansion and those important figures also returned to their seats, with a hint of horror in their eyes, staring at this scene in a daze. The dragon vein of our Xan dynasty is actually a nine-clawed golden dragon. Some elders of Tianyuan Mansion were shocked. The nine-clawed golden dragon is a real dragon that appears in legends. The dragon veins are closely linked to the destiny of a country. They simply cannot imagine how powerful the Tianyuan divine dynasty will be in the future. Then, in front of everyone, the golden dragon actually flew in front of the palace and bowed to Nangong Chen. Countless gazes shot over there, and people on the street looked over there with fiery eyes. Could it be that today we are about to witness the beginning of a new dynasty? Someone whispered, the excitement in the tone unable to be hidden. These people are not stupid, and they have guessed a lot of things in the past 10 days. Now that the Great Zhou royal family has fallen apart and the dragon veins have disappeared, the Tianyuan Mansion is looking for another dragon vein, probably to establish a new country. Come in, Nangong Chen said softly. The next moment, the nine-clawed golden dragon raised its huge dragon head, and some human thoughts appeared in its dragon eyes. Its huge body directly escaped into the mountains and rivers of Dezhou. When people saw this scene, they gasped and were speechless for a moment. Could it be that this nine-clawed golden dragon recognized the young master? Otherwise, why would he obey his orders? They didn't even dare to imagine that the owner of the nine-clawed golden dragon was actually Nangong Chen. Boom! The imperial dragon vein is fully activated. In an instant, throughout the world, a spiritual energy dozens of times denser than before emerged from the ground. After everyone sensed it, their expressions changed and their pupils shrank slightly. There were even people in the crowd who broke through on the spot. You can imagine how rich this spiritual energy is. Even some blessed caves and holy places for cultivation are far from being this dense. After Nangong Chen felt it, he nodded with a look of satisfaction. The spiritual energy brought by this imperial dragon vein is so rich that even he feels that his cultivation base is loosening slightly, as if he is about to break through to the peak of great power. If this were to be told to others, I'm afraid those monks who left would regret it. But there's no use regretting it. Once you leave, there's no way back. Thinking of this, a cold light flashed in Nangong Chen's eyes. Wei Zhong, do you think we can still establish a new country now? Nangong Chen said lightly, with a sense of noble majesty. Able. Wei Zhong was very excited, his old face flushed, and he spoke. If this is not possible, which dynasty in the entire Xintian realm dares to establish itself? Soon, the crowd gathered in front of the palace. It was very lively, and everyone was discussing something. They had too many doubts in their minds. What exactly is going on with today's spiritual reign and the nine-clawed golden dragon? Has the dragon vein issue been resolved? Also, what they are most concerned about is whether Tianyuan Prefecture will establish a new country and who will be the king. After hearing this, Tianyuan Mansion also had some discussions internally. Are you sure you want me to be the emperor? Nangong Chen stared at his son with his eyes wide open. What else? I've already chosen the name for the country for you. I'm still young, and I can't be trapped here. Nangong Chen yawned and responded calmly. Those tribesmen were also shocked. They didn't expect that the young master would give up this opportunity. But when they thought that he gave it to Nangong Chen, they understood a little. Besides, don't you have management experience? You previously led so many people in Tianyuan Mansion, so it shouldn't be a problem for you to manage a country. Nangong Chen continued, his tone leisurely. After hearing this, Nangong Chen was also very upset and his mouth twitched. He finally realized that this kid simply wanted him to help manage his power. Okay, since you like to venture out, I will help you manage the divine dynasty. Nangong Chen agreed with a serious expression, but he was secretly happy in his heart. After all, as a rebel, I have always dreamed of becoming an emperor. Otherwise, why would he rebel against the king of Zhou? Thinking of this, he felt a little moved. This was his biological son. It turned out that he had not raised him in vain. It seems that hoping your son will become successful is still useful. On the other side, Nangong Chen's eyes flickered, and his mind was full of thoughts. Don't think he doesn't know that old Biden has had a dream of becoming an emperor for a long time. Although he is hesitant now, he is probably very happy in his heart. Alas, it's good for old Biden that he has a lucky son like me, so he can enjoy his old age so early. It seems that the plan of hoping his father will become a dragon should be implemented. Just like that, 2 divine dynasties, each with their own ulterior motives, and one that would threaten the entire 9 heavens and 10 realms in the future, were born. Within a few days, the news that Tianyuan Mansion had established the Tianyuan Divine Dynasty had caused a sensation in the country, and everyone knew about it. And they also knew that everything that happened during the spiritual reign that day was actually due to the dragon vein that Tianyuan Mansion was looking for, which averted the crisis. For a moment, everyone was deeply moved. They did not expect that Tianyuan Mansion had done so many things in secret for them. At this moment, the people of the whole country chose to support Tianyuan Mansion to establish the Divine Dynasty without hesitation. They believe that under the leadership of Tianyuan Mansion, they can go further and reach higher. The monarch of the Tianyuan Divine Dynasty was appointed by the Lord of Tianyuan Mansion, Nangong Chen. Everyone had already expected this. It is said that the king of Zhou in front of the palace was still alive, but when he heard that his old rival had ascended the throne, he was so angry that he died. Of course, this matter was also regarded as a topic of conversation after dinner. 1 month later, Tianyuan Divine Dynasty. In an extremely luxurious mansion, Nangong Chen sat cross-legged on the mattress, his whole body shining with divine light, and the Great Zhou immortal scripture was running. After a long time, he exhaled a breath of turbid air, and his eyes showed a gleam of light. The peak of the powerful realm, accomplished. Now he is in the place with the most abundant spiritual energy in the entire Tianyuan Divine Dynasty, so his cultivation speed is naturally extremely fast. Is it the day when the immortal treasure is opened? Nangong Chen muttered to himself, his eyes flashing. The Chu family's immortal treasure, after all, is a small world that connects the 10 domains. And coincidentally, in the Xintian domain, the Chu family is in charge of this exit, so it is naturally called the Chu family's immortal treasure. However, it is rumored that this small world has been passed down from ancient times to the present day, and there are many powerful inheritances in it, including the burning sky inheritance left by the self-proclaimed Emperor Yin and the magic left by one of the 10 evils. Of course, these were not what attracted him the most. What attracted Nangong Chen the most was a rumor. It is said that in ancient times, there was a woman who was born with double pupils. She obtained a precious technique from the immortal treasury. Others said that it was the supreme mystery of double pupils. After this, the girl with double pupils swept all the way and had no rivals. If I am not mistaken, this secret is exactly the legendary double pupil opening the sky. Thinking of this, a ripple appeared in Nangong Chen's heart. Now his double pupils have rarely improved. If he possesses this precious technique, he will have a powerful weapon. Thinking of this, he had to go to the Chu family's treasure trove this time. Ding! Check in at the Chu family immortal treasure. At this moment, the system prompt sounded again. After hearing this, Nangong Chen was a little stunned, and a smile appeared on the corner of his mouth. God is really helping me. But I heard that there's a bug that's been jumping around lately, and it's saying it's blocking the mountain gate. In that case, let's just suppress it this time. Nangong Chen looked calm and thought nonchalantly. Chapter 111. Taiku Jiang family move out. Qianlong Immortal Dynasty. A hearty laugh was heard from inside the magnificent palace. Sir, I think that person with double pupils is just like that. He has been cowardly for a whole month and is no better than a turtle. In the crowd, Inyo laughed, his tone full of sarcasm. Eastern Shinzhou's pride. TSK, 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 nothing. It's hard to compare with the crown prince. Someone echoed with a smile. After hearing this, the other followers also smiled and showed disdain. I used to think that people with double pupils were so famous, but now it seems that they are nothing special. And above, Prince Aolong was wearing a gorgeous robe and had a very majestic aura. Even some veteran gods could not resist the aura he exuded. You're right. The one with double pupils is just a rat crossing the street. I'm afraid he's already anticipated that he'll fall in my hands, so he simply chose to escape. Prince Aolong thought for a moment and spoke confidently with an innate arrogance. He felt that he was a genius, as he could see right through the mind of the person with double pupils. After hearing this explanation, everyone suddenly realized what was going on. Just as they were about to offer some flattery, an anxious voice rang out. "Report, Prince, something bad has happened. According to our informant, the person with double pupils has already left and is on his way to Chu City." Outside the palace, a soldier was kneeling on the ground, speaking in a trembling voice. After he finished speaking, the whole audience fell silent. The prince had just said that the person with double pupils had escaped, and now he came to tell him that the person with double pupils had already set off. They didn't expect that the slap in the face would come so quickly. Seeing that everyone was speechless, the soldier also lowered his head and dared not speak. After a long time, it was Prince Aolong himself who broke the silence. All right. I didn't expect the man with double pupils to be so arrogant as to actually dare to go to Chu City to keep the appointment. If that's the case, then, in front of everyone, I will defeat the man with double pupils and humiliate him severely. I want everyone in the world to see this. I want to ride on his reputation to prove my invincibility. Prince Aolong suppressed the anger in his heart, gritted his teeth, and said, his eyes full of resentment. The ancient family, the Jiang family. In front of the mountain, there was a powerful figure standing there. When his eyes opened and closed, flames were dancing. His body was wrapped in flames, as if the god of fire had descended. I have already mastered the Burning Heaven Manual. This visit to the Chu family's immortal treasure will be my chance to avenge my previous shame and regain my place on the heavenly ranking. Jiang Che whispered, and a fierce will rushed straight into the sky, which was extremely shocking. That's right, he was Jiang Che, who was previously squeezed out of the top 10 of the heavenly ranking by Nangong Chen. He possessed a 9th-grade divine body, the Burning Heaven Battle Body. Soon, another white figure arrived. When Jiang Che saw this person, his pupils were somewhat shocked, and he said in surprise, "Jiang Yingwe, are you out of seclusion?" The young woman was extremely beautiful. She was wearing a palace moon dress that was as cool as a fairy. Her temperament was ethereal and otherworldly. In her beautiful eyes, there was an image of a bright moon hanging high in the sky. Even Jiang Che could not resist the aura she exuded. She is the woman who is currently ranked 2nd on the heavenly ranking and is known as the Moon Goddess, Jiang Yingwe. "Call me Moon Goddess," Jiang Yingwe said in a cold voice, with a tone that could not be refused, and even a sense of coercion emerged. After Jiang Che felt it, his face turned pale, and then he said unwillingly, "Moon Goddess." There was a complicated look in his eyes, with a hint of affection and a hint of resentment. Naturally, his feelings were for Jiang Yingwe. Jiang Yingwe's identity was shocking. She was a demon from the Jiang family in ancient times and was sealed until now. As soon as she was born, she easily crushed Jiang Che, who was once known as the Jiang family's #1 genius. The gap between the two was like the difference between heaven and earth. That peerless beauty, coupled with such strength and talent, has already attracted many of the Jiang family's peers. Jiang Che was naturally no exception. He soon began to pursue Jiang Yingwe madly. However, Jiang Yingwe was like a goddess who was not of this world. She was so high and mighty that she never even looked at him straight in the eye and even humiliated him. It was like this every time, and in the end, Jiang Che gave up. He felt a trace of resentment in his heart. He wanted to become strong, defeat this woman, and step on her hard under his feet. Only then might Jiang Yingwe look at him. "I heard that the person with double pupils squeezed out the top 10 of your heavenly ranking," Jiang Yingwe said coldly, her voice pleasant but cold. After hearing this, Jiang Che's face was somewhat unyielding, but he still gritted his teeth and said, "Yes. What a loser. A disgrace to our Jiang family." Jiang Yingwe cursed mercilessly, looking down on others with a cold gaze. "This time, among the Chu family's immortal treasures, I will return to the top 10. Jiang Che secretly clenched his fists and said in a deep voice, "I really don't know what the family was thinking. They actually let you team up with me? A loser who can't even make it into the top 10 of the heavenly ranking. Do you think you're worthy?" Jiang Yingwe shook her head with a disdainful tone. Jiang Che remained silent, lowered his head, and his facial features were slightly distorted. He didn't dare to vent his anger on Jiang Yingwei. He only dared to resent the person with double pupils, resent him for squeezing him out of the ranking. If he didn't have double pupils, would he be treated like this today? At this moment, he was filled with resentment and wished to kill the person with double pupils. But this person with double pupils is quite interesting. His talent is beyond the 9th level, and he even killed the Blood Demon King? I want to see if this immortal treasure can pique my interest. Jiang Yingwei said with great interest, her skirt shining with the light of glass. It was this scene that made Jiang Che even more angry. His lips were bitten until they bled, and his eyes were filled with anger. You with double pupils, I want you to die. On the border of East Shenzhou, a flaming chariot was running in the sky, leaving a trail of fire. In front of the chariot, the red dragon was extremely powerful, and the aura of the quasi-saint made many people passing by below change their expressions. This is the first time in all these days that I've seen a quasi-saint beast pulling a cart. Someone couldn't help but sigh, eyes full of shock. When the others saw this scene, they also stopped and looked into the void with their eyes narrowed. Among them were some chosen ones from first-rate sections. After seeing this, a hint of envy appeared on their faces, and they secretly swallowed their saliva. You know, among ordinary people, they're already considered geniuses, admired by thousands of people, and the resources they get are already top-notch. But now, after seeing the quasi-saint's red dragon pulling a cart, they realized that there was a huge difference between it and the monsters of some immortal forces. Chapter 1, 12 Chu City Zhoubai. But inside the carriage, there was a completely different scene with 4 colors of spring breeze. At this moment, Nangong Chen was enjoying the knee pillow, lying comfortably on a pair of black silk thighs. Zhou Wanner's delicate face was now covered with a blush. Feeling the touch on her legs, she felt her heart beating nonstop, and a tingling sensation surged through her body. This was the first time in her life that she had been so close to a man other than her mother. Wang Yuxuan, who was standing aside, placed her bare hands on Nangong Chen's body, massaging him continuously, her beautiful eyes filled with resentment. It's just black stockings. She can wear them too. She also wants the young master to sleep on her legs. Isn't white silk okay? Thinking of this, Wang Yuxuan's slender jade fingers couldn't help but increase the strength, wanting to hurt the man to death. Yes, the strength is just right. Unexpectedly, after Nangong Chen felt it, his face looked somewhat relieved, and he sighed. Of course, the current situation is caused by Su Li's absence, and I don't know what weird novels these two girls are reading recently. The matter of resting the head on the knees today was mentioned by Wang Yuxuan, and it just so happened that he enjoyed it. Su Li should be almost in Chu City now, right? I wonder if she encountered any danger along the way. Nangong Chen couldn't help but think in his heart. Just half a month ago, Su Li said goodbye to him and left the Divine Dynasty to seek her own opportunity. He also expressed his understanding. After all, Su Li had secrets that he didn't know about. Just like the last time in the Nine Heavens secret realm, that sudden divine thought might be her golden finger. Thinking of this, Nangong Chen couldn't help but sigh. She is truly worthy of being the destined heroine. She has had great opportunities along the way. If she hadn't been cheating, she might have been surpassed by Su Li. Fortunately, the destined heroine is his woman. So the stronger Su Li is, the happier he should be. Before leaving, Nangong Chen handed her the invitation to Xinzong. Thinking of this, he had some good feelings towards the Mist Chu from the last time. I heard that this immortal treasure spot is extremely important, and Chu Yan was able to give me too. It seems that she must have a special status in the Chu family. Nangong Chen's eyes flickered as he pondered. Chu City. This is a city with a long history. It is said that it was opened up by the ancestor of the Chu family. It was honored by the immortal Chu family, and the Chu family was stationed here. Gradually, people named it Chu City. In the void, countless islands floated, emitting a hazy divine light, and below, those ancient and magnificent buildings were intertwined and intertwined, like a giant dragon circling. At this moment, at the gate of Chu City, there was an endless stream of people queuing up to enter the city. Those who came here were disciples and elders from various first-rate forces or powerful independent cultivators. In short, none of them were ordinary people. You should know that the number of people who can enter the Chu family's immortal collection does not exceed 20, and they are all descendants of disciples from various major sections. It is not the turn of other forces at all. The purpose of this group of people coming here is very simple. First, they want to catch a glimpse of some evildoers and see the world. Moreover, before the immortal treasure is opened, the entire Chu city will build a holy place for discussing Taoism and hold various activities. As this continued for a long time, it naturally attracted most of the geniuses in the Xintian realm to come and discuss and exchange ideas, and it also became a recognized holy place for discussing the Tao. As for the disciples of Xianmin sect, well, a first-rate sect, they are qualified to enter. The Skycat sect has no reputation at all. It's just some random force, not even on the same level. How dare you get away with it? Get out of here. As for the Yuqing sect, although it's a second-rate force, your elders have already made arrangements, so you can reluctantly let them in. In front of the gate, a guard with thick eyebrows and big eyes was checking their identities one by one, sometimes speaking softly, sometimes as angry as thunder. His aura was powerful, as strong as that of a god king. Even though many people were dissatisfied, they did not dare to act rashly. Zhou Bai, who was far away, saw this scene and couldn't help feeling uneasy. "Prince, can we still go in?" Someone next to him asked timidly. At this moment, they were disheveled and their imperial robes had turned gray at some point, covered in dust and dirt, and even had bloodstains on them. Their team has also shrunk from 20 people to 5 people now. It is conceivable how difficult it was for them to get here all the way from Dezhou. Thinking of this, Zhou Bai couldn't help but feel a little regretful. If he had known that the journey would be so difficult, he should not have come here. Now, not only did he not have a penny on him, he couldn't even find a place to stay. Afterwards, Zhou Bai looked through the gap in the gate and saw the scene inside Chu City. He was shocked and even felt a little excited. How awesome it would be if I could go in and stay inside forever. Thinking of this, Zhou Bai's previous dissatisfaction was immediately swept away. He couldn't help but think that if he were still in the Great Zhou Dynasty, the dragon veins would have disappeared, his spiritual power would have been exhausted, he wouldn't even be able to practice cultivation, and his life would be even more miserable. And those idiots from Tianyuan Mansion didn't even leave and chose to stay there. They must have regretted it by now. Maybe Nangong Chen is already living a primitive life now. Ha ha! Zhou Bai laughed in his heart. He now felt that his idea of leading the others through thousands of mountains and rivers to come to Chu City was still correct. Of course, it would be even better if we could get in now. According to them, anyone from first-rate force should be able to enter Chu City. As a prince of the Great Zhou Dynasty, which is a first-rate force, wouldn't it be easy for him to get in? Zhou Bai's eyes rolled and gleamed with a sharp light. Go in. It's easy. I have a way. Just watch how I get in. Zhou Bai said confidently and walked over with a swagger. When the people around saw him, they looked at each other. Although they were a little confused when they heard that they could go in, they all looked happy and followed. Just like that, Zhou Bai didn't even line up the team, but walked straight forward and came in front of the general. When the people behind him saw this, they couldn't help but frown and curse. Where did these people come from? They didn't even line up. What bastards! Yeah, they're dressed so dirty, they must have come from the mountains. After hearing this, Zhou Bai also looked confident. He turned around and said disdainfully, "How dare you, lowly commoners, talk about this prince like this? Be careful, or I'll have your heads chopped off." After these words were spoken, the place became much quieter, and everyone was frightened. Could it be that they hit a wall? If the other party has a strong background, then cutting in on their team is understandable. For a moment, everyone was silent, looking at Zhou Bai and the others with suspicion. They wanted to see who these people were. Chapter 113. Zhou Bai was slapped in the face, and the red dragon pulled the cart. The God King's guard saw Zhou Bai's actions, but did not say anything to stop him. After all, if the other party comes from a wealthy family, it would be no big deal if they just cut in line. This has been a common practice in the past. Of course, if the other party is just taking advantage of the power of others, he will suffer the consequences soon. Thinking of this, the security guard with thick eyebrows and big eyes sneered in his heart. He wanted to see what kind of person this person was. Name, and from what faction? The burly guard asked with a grim expression. He did not humble himself just because the other party might have a powerful identity. This was the confidence that the Chu family gave him. After hearing this, Zhou Bai straightened his sleeves, brushed off the dust on his body, snorted, and said confidently, "My name is Zhou Bai, and I am the third prince of the Great Zhou Dynasty in eastern Shenzhou. Do you know this?" I don't know if it's because Zhou Bai is too confident, but even the other people around him straightened their backs, and their disheveled faces were full of pride. They are also the royal family of the Great Zhou Dynasty, so they don't believe that the other party will not give them face. Sure enough, as soon as these words were spoken, everyone fell silent. The Great Zhou Dynasty of Eastern Xinzhou, what kind of power is that? I've never even heard of it before. Someone asked quietly, looking confused. The rest of the people were bewildered. They were all from central Xinzhou and had never heard of the Great Zhou Dynasty. However, soon, someone seemed to have thought of something and said in shock, "That seems to be the dynasty where those with double pupils belong." When these words were spoken, everyone was stunned and took a deep breath. Oh my God, no wonder these people are so arrogant. They actually come from the force where the people with double pupils belong. In front of him, after seeing this scene, Zhou Bai raised a smile on his face and felt very comfortable. I didn't expect that I could actually borrow Nangong Chen's light. It's really comfortable. If Nangong Chen knew, he would probably be furious. Ha ha! He was laughing in his heart, as it made him feel like he was taking advantage of others. A big one at that. Zhou Bai's eyes rolled around, and he smiled evilly. Maybe after he goes in, he can use this identity to cause a lot of trouble to Nangong Chen. Then, he will have to clean up all the mess for him, and you can just sit back and reap the benefits. Hearing other people's voices outside the door, his body trembled and his face was filled with shock. "Everyone, please wait for me. I'll be back soon," the burly man outside the door said excitedly, then turned and left. It has been said long ago that if you encounter anything related to people with double pupils, you must report it. If the information is reliable, you might get rewarded by an important person. He walked away with excited steps and disappeared from everyone's sight. When these words were spoken, the onlookers were shocked. Is this still the security guard they knew? When did you become so servile that you even use the term little one? I have never seen this scene in such a long time. After hearing this, Zhou Bai felt a little shocked. He didn't expect that Nangong Chen's reputation was so great that even coming here would be effective, and even the Chu family attached great importance to him. Why? Just because he awakened his double pupils? He deserves all this treatment. He gets all the good stuff. This is so unfair. Thinking of this, a hint of jealousy burned in his eyes. In Zhou Bai's heart, he secretly swore that if he could get in, he would definitely ruin Nangong Chen's reputation. At this moment, Zhou Bai's face was very gloomy, and it took a while for him to relax. A few breaths later, the burly security guard appeared not far away, his face expressionless. But if you looked carefully, you would be able to see the coldness hidden in his eyes. After seeing this, Zhou Bai returned to his original arrogant look, with a flash of joy in his eyes. It seems that Nangong Chen's identity is still useful, as he was able to let me in so quickly. Thinking of this, his face became extremely happy, as if he was thinking of living an enviable life in Chu City in the future. How dare you? You dare to use a destroyed dynasty to fool me? You really don't know how to live or die. The guard's eyes were filled with anger as he spoke in a cold voice, releasing his aura without any concealment. Just now, he went up to confirm with his captain, but was scolded instead. It turned out that the Great Zhou Dynasty had long been destroyed and replaced by a dynasty called Tianyuan Divine Dynasty. And the Tianyuan Divine Dynasty has an inseparable relationship with those with double pupils. Thinking about how he had just been so humble to these scammers, he wanted to slap himself a few times. At this moment, the whole audience was silent. Zhou Bai was stunned for a moment, then asked in panic, "What are you talking about? What destroyed dynasty?" After hearing this, the guard's face turned pale and he shouted angrily, "That Great Zhou Dynasty you were talking about has been destroyed. Do you understand? I was so happy for nothing and even got scolded by the captain." When these words were spoken, everyone looked shocked. Zhou Bai felt as if he had been struck by a bolt from the blue. His body trembled and a chill surged into his heart. The same is true for the other people around me. Not much better. They had never imagined that the Great Zhou Dynasty would be destroyed. Aren't there still people like Tianyuan Mansion there? Why was it destroyed? At this moment, they had all kinds of doubts in their hearts. After everyone suddenly realized what was happening, they couldn't help but sneer and mock him nonstop. "I thought you were a prince from some dynasty? Oh, so you're a prince from a destroyed dynasty. This is hilarious. Your dynasty has been destroyed, yet you still dare to call yourself a prince. You are the most ordinary person I have ever met. You deserve it. You're allowed to cut in line, a person without any status. Get the hell away and don't delay us from getting in. Is Chuching a place you can afford to come to?" Hearing these taunts, Zhou Bai's face turned ugly. His face turned pale and blue, his fists clenched, and he lowered his head and wanted to leave. At this moment, the guard kicked him in the back, and Zhou Bai fell flat on his face. When the guard saw this, he sneered and said in a cold voice, "Do you think you could just leave here if you want to?" When everyone saw this scene, they all laughed. Some people were not even satisfied and kicked him twice more. I told you not to show off. Remember this from now on. Don't show off if you don't have the ability. Zhou Bai looked frustrated. Due to his weak cultivation, he couldn't even take action. He could only grit his teeth and swallow the resentment. Just then, someone exclaimed, "Look, a red dragon is pulling a cart. Whose big shot is this?" After hearing this, everyone looked up into the void, their eyes filled with shock. Even the God King's guard couldn't help but open his mouth, and his pupils shrank after seeing it. Chapter 114, Nangong Chen arrives, Qingyu. In the void, a blazing flame flashed across the sky, revealing an extremely large red dragon pulling a luxurious chariot. The aura emanating from the dragon was extremely terrifying. Just a wisp of it was enough to make many people present collapse and fall to their knees. Even the security guard was trembling, and his face turned pale. "This is definitely a quasi-saint dragon," he couldn't help but mutter. Zhou Bai also got a moment to breathe. He supported himself with his hands and climbed up. His face was covered with dust, and he happened to see this scene in the sky. In an instant, his eyes were filled with uncontrollable shock, and a sense of fear surged through his body. On that day, in the Great Zhou Dynasty, he saw from afar a scene similar to the one today. The person inside was none other than Nangong Chen. Then, in front of everyone's witness, the city defense formation was like a decoration, and the chariot passed through easily. This scene shocked many people. Didn't they say that Chu City has a no-fly zone? Someone looked surprised and muttered to himself. After hearing this, the Divine King Guard sneered and responded, "Ban the sky? That's forbidding you, not them." When everyone heard this, they looked at each other with envy. They did understand that if you have an extraordinary status, the so-called rules are just decorations to you. When Zhou Bai saw this, he gritted his teeth and his heart was filled with resentment. Why can't he just come in casually? Chu City, on a busy street, there was a man with a calm face, dressed in white, surrounded by fairy light, with an extraordinary temperament, like a banished immortal, which amazed many people. If you look closely, you can find a small red snake on his shoulder, which is the quasi-saint red dragon. Many women looked at Nangong Chen with eyes as bright as spring water, but did not dare to approach him to talk to him. Soon, a beautiful girl walked up to Nangong Chen and asked sincerely, "Sir, do you need a guide? I'm very cheap. Just 2 spirit crystals will do. I know the whole Chu City." Seeing Nangong Chen remain silent, the girl's beautiful eyes dimmed, and she looked lost and was about to retreat. At this moment, a warm and delicate voice sounded. "Okay, what's your name, girl?" Nangong Chen nodded and spoke. "I really don't know much about this place, so it would be nice to have someone to lead the way." Moreover, this time they were going into the immortal treasure, and for the safety of Wang Yushuan and the others, they were not allowed to follow. After sending themselves to Chu City, he sent people to send them back to Tianyuan Divine Dynasty. "My name is Qingyu, sir." Qing means green, and Yu means depressed. A pleasant voice sounded. Qingyu blinked and spoke. After hearing this, Nangong Chen's eyes flashed, and he came back to his senses. "Qingyu? That's a good name." Then a brilliant light bloomed, and 2 top-grade spirit crystals lay in the girl's hands. Qingyu was stunned for a moment, her beautiful eyes filled with shock. She didn't expect that the young man in front of her would be so generous. There are a full 2,000 spirit crystals here. This is completely beyond her expectations. When the other people nearby saw this scene, their eyes widened and they felt extremely regretful. What a waste of a big fish. This is too much. No. Qingyu's breath was a little unstable, and he quickly refused, shaking his head like a broken wave drum. Nangong Chen said nothing, stood with his hands behind his back, and walked slowly. Seeing this, Qingyu had no choice but to accept it and then followed Nangong Chen closely. Along the way, listening to Qingyu chattering beside him, Nangong Chen looked calm, nodding in response from time to time, looking very comfortable. "You don't look like you specialize in this line of work, do you?" Nangong Chen asked casually, glancing at her. Qingyu was wearing a green skirt and had her black hair tied up, revealing her fair face and beautiful eyes that were full of spirit, just like a girl from the south of the Yangtze River. After hearing this, Qingyu lowered his head, as if he was thinking of something bad. I originally came from a first-class family in a nearby city. But one day, Prince Ao Long took a fancy to me and wanted to take me by force. I refused, and he killed my parents in order to save me. My family was destroyed by him. Even my younger brother was beaten by Prince Ao Long because of me. He is still in a coma. Qingyu said slowly, his voice a little sobbing, and then continued. I heard that the man with double pupils was going to fight Prince Ao Long, so I came to Chu City. I want to see Prince Ao Long lose with my own eyes. After hearing this, Nangong Chen shook his head, his expression calm. It's not that he has no sympathy, but there are enough tragic things like this in the world that he has become numb. Yes, the one with double pupils will win. Those with double pupils have never been defeated since ancient times. Nangong Chen said calmly. Qingyu was stunned for a moment, then smiled and said, Yes, I also believe he can win. That's right, those with double pupils have never been defeated since ancient times. When talking about people with double pupils, her beautiful eyes lit up with a hint of admiration. Little did she know that the person with double pupils that she had been thinking about was right in front of her. The two continued walking until they came to a luxurious building. There are huge crowds of people here, with pedestrians coming in an endless stream. From time to time, bursts of shouting can be heard from the buildings, making it very lively. Nangong Chen saw this scene and asked, What are they doing? Qingyu took a look, his eyes tinged with envy, and slowly responded. This is the Astronomy Pavilion, a high-end place in Chu City. There are many talented people who love literature and calligraphy here to discuss the Tao. However, I heard that the saint of the Holy Land of Literature and Tao has recently arrived and seems to be holding a competition. It is said that if the poem you come up with satisfies the saint, you can get 100 immortal crystals. Nangong Chen nodded, a look of sudden realization appearing on his face. Then, he felt a little puzzled. 100 immortal crystals. Can a saint girl like him afford it? This is not a small amount. Qingyu thought for a while and said, It seems that it was not produced by the saint girl. It was put together by some suitors, such as the young master of Wanbao Pavilion, the young master of the Wang family, and so on. So that's how it is. Nangong Chen's eyes flashed, and he understood. It turns out that the bootlickers were raising money to hold a competition for the goddess. Poetry? Before he traveled through time, he had memorized some famous poems from his previous life. 100 fairy crystals is neither too many nor too few. It's just right for me to have some fun when I have nothing to do. Thinking of this, Nangong Chen stepped in without hesitation. Qingyu, who was standing by, was just about to remind him that this was not a place for ordinary people, but the next moment he saw Nangong Chen had already gone in. Sir, this is... Qingyu stopped talking, gritted his teeth, and followed Nangong Chen in. Chapter 1:15 Astronomy Gathering. Astronomy Pavilion. Thank you all for your kindness to me. I am able to hold this poetry discussion in the Astronomy Pavilion today. In the center of the pavilion, a veiled, purple-haired girl spoke with a voice as sweet as the sound of a fairy spring from the sky. The nearby platform was crowded with countless scholars and literati, all looking at the purple-haired woman with an infatuated look on their faces. Most of them have extraordinary identities or are well-educated. Otherwise, they would not have the face to step into this place. Fairy Shimeng is joking. We are willing to raise the immortal crystals. A young man in a yellow robe smiled. He had a handsome face and a noble look in his eyes. When others saw this, there was a hint of fear in their eyes. This person is none other than Wang Tong, the young master of the famous immortal Wang family. It is said that when Wang Tong was born, there was a great vision. A celestial map was engraved on his back, and he looked incredibly powerful. His father even exclaimed, My son has the qualities of a great emperor. After hearing this, the purple-haired girl smiled at a distance and didn't say much. Her purple eyes were very calm. Thank you very much, Brother Wang, she said with a slight bow. It's just a mere 100 immortal crystals. If I can make Fairy Shimeng smile, even if it's thousands or tens of thousands, what's the harm? Soon, another person spoke. This person had a big belly and a silly look on his face. It was the successor of Wanbao Pavilion, Lu Daju. Of the 100 immortal crystals this time, he contributed the most. He contributed nearly half, which was no small amount. After hearing this, everyone did not dare to underestimate it in the slightest. Wanbao Pavilion has run the world, and who knows how much it has earned now. They looked at Lu Daju with envy. If only I could be as generous as him. Fellow Taoist Lu, you're joking. My smile is worth 1,000 gold. Ximing simply responded without saying much, and then continued. Since most of you have arrived, let's begin this poetry discussion. After hearing this, everyone's eyes sparkled, and they were extremely excited. If they achieve good results this time, not only can they take away the 100 fairy crystals, but they can even gain Ximing's favor. For them, it is a great opportunity. Moreover, the topic had already been announced, giving them a full month to prepare, which gave them great confidence. As for the theme of this time, it is below. Ximing smiled slightly, and then 2 little children came over and spread out a scroll. The scroll suddenly rolled open, revealing the shocking scene inside. The moon, the lake, and a small sailboat. On the boat, there is a fisherman, looking at the bright moon, with unknown emotions in his eyes. When this scene appeared, everyone was puzzled. They originally knew that there was only a moon lake, but they did not expect that Ximing actually added a small sailboat and a fisherman to it. What on earth was that fisherman thinking with that expression? For a moment, the entire astronomy pavilion was silent, and everyone was thinking about how to add the fisherman's element. For a long time, no one spoke. Seeing this scene, Ximing couldn't help but feel a little disappointed in her beautiful eyes. Everyone knows that Ximing is the most talented woman in the world, with unparalleled talent and amazing gifts, but few people know that she really longs for someone who can understand her state of mind and discuss things with her. All the content of this painting was drawn by her personally, and the fisherman was also deliberately added. Judging from this scene, the meaning behind it is probably only understood by her. Alas, it seems that there is no one in this world who understands me. Ximing's pretty face was gloomy, and she thought to herself, I already know the meaning of it. Now I will write a line of lyrics. At this moment, Wang Ting spoke with a beaming face and full of confidence. Just now, he had contacted a scholar at home and told him the poem, so he was naturally very confident. The moon is crescent, the lake is bright, the fisherman is gazing at the moon and admiring the scenery, fascinated. Under the gaze of everyone, Wang Ting spoke with his hands on his chest, very confident. After hearing these words, Ximing's eyes went dark, and she didn't know how to describe this sentence. Seeing Ximing silent, Wang Ting's face changed, and he thought to himself that something was wrong. This poem is too monotonous, and the language is too straightforward, but that's the only bright spot. Out of 10, I'd give it a 6. Ximing spoke up, giving him some face. Thank you, Fairy Ximing, for your comments. Wang Ting bowed and said with a stiff smile. In his heart, there was 1,000 horses galloping and rage burning. These 6 points clearly did not meet his expectations. At this moment, he wished he could chop the writer who had just given him the poem into pieces. After hearing this, everyone tried to hold back their smiles and dared not laugh out loud. In their opinion, even a 3-year-old child could not write such a childish poem. At this moment, Lu Dezhu stepped forward and shouted, I'll do it. He was also full of confidence, with a bright smile on his face, as if he had great confidence. Spring waters flow into the sea, the moon rises in the river, and the fisherman remains silent. As soon as the sentence came out, everyone looked at him in shock, wondering where this guy bought the poem from. Sure enough, after hearing this, Ximing nodded and said, 7 points. It's pretty standard and unremarkable. The only bright spot is that it connects spring together, which has a bit of artistic inception, but it's still not enough. After he finished speaking, Lu Dezhu smiled and looked very satisfied. In his opinion, it was enough to be taller than his old rival Wang Ting. Everyone was shocked. You could only get 7 points for such a poem. It would be extremely difficult for you to get a high score today. When Wang Ting saw it, he took advantage of Lu Dezhu coming down to send a message. Where did you buy the poem? I won't tell you. Lu Dezhu smiled, but didn't tell him, his eyes gleaming with brilliance. Who would tell these tricks to his love rival? At this moment, a figure in white clothes walked in from outside the pavilion. She had an ethereal aura and was surrounded by fairy light, with an extraordinary temperament. As soon as he came in, everyone was shocked. Wang Ting and Lu Dezhu also saw it. The moment the other party came in, they felt a sense of crisis in their hearts. But when they saw that this person had no intention of participating, they withdrew their gaze. You'd better not have any thoughts about Fairy Ximing, or you'll be in trouble, Wang Ting said secretly. You know, he spent a lot of fairy crystals, and he didn't want others to reap the benefits. This was all his hard work, and he only wanted to give it to Fairy Ximing. Young master. Seeing so many people coming, Qingyu's pretty face turned pale. The people here were all people she couldn't afford to offend. Nangong Chen looked calm as he handed her a cup of tea without saying anything more. After Qingyu drank it, He felt much more at ease when he saw Nangong Chen's handsome face. Chapter 116 got it? Soon. Among this group of scholars, several more stepped forward, but the scores they received were similar, around 6 or 7 points, and no one even broke 9 points. Finally, there was one person who was full of confidence and claimed that he had been thinking about it for a long time. However, the poem he recited only received 6 points, which made everyone's morale drop. The only ones who performed well, who at least had some literary knowledge, only got about 8 points at best, which was already the highest. After seeing this, Qingyu couldn't help feeling disappointed. He didn't expect that these people who seemed to be well-educated couldn't say a word at this moment. Is it true that today, no one can understand the meaning of this painting? Since we've reached the end, Fairy Shiming, why don't you tell us about the poem you composed so that we can pay our respects to it? Someone in the crowd spoke up. After these words were spoken, many people echoed them and wanted to see the poems written by Fairy Shiming. There was great curiosity in their eyes. As the most talented woman in the world, what kind of talent could she have to be worthy of this title? Since you all want to see my poetry, I will present my humble poems. Shiming has beautiful facial features, skin as white as snow, and bright purple eyes, like flying purple butterflies. The next moment, Shiming seemed to have entered a state surrounded by the rime of Taoism, and the aura she exuded was like that of a great scholar. She picked up the brush, dipped it in ink, and wrote with great vigor and energy. Her incredibly beautiful handwriting flowed like a dragon entering the river, which was truly astonishing. Is this the strength of a genius and a #1 talent? Someone couldn't help but murmur, obviously shocked. Everything can enter the Tao, and everything that enters the Tao can be cultivated. The world's most talented woman is indeed worthy of her reputation. Such pressure has already made many people far behind. Soon, Shiming paused for the last stroke, put the brush back, and a look of satisfaction appeared on her face. Everyone stared intently. Their expressions were very excited. They were eager to see what Shiming had written. The lake light and the autumn moon merged together, and the water surface is still without wind, making people sad. When this sentence came out, everyone was shocked. Those short 14 words painted an extremely beautiful scene. The 3 words, separation and sorrow, further embellished the fisherman's mood. Thinking of this, they were convinced in their hearts and looked at the beautiful figure above with extremely obsessed eyes. Is this the most talented woman? She really lives up to her reputation. Wang Teng's eyes became even more fiery. He must get such an outstanding woman. At this moment, a sound like thunder fell. I've heard that the saintess of the holy land of astronomy is unparalleled in talent. I wonder if she could teach me something today. Suddenly, 2 figures appeared in the void, one male and one female. The young man exuded a powerful aura with a flicker of fire in his eyes. He was dressed in a distinguished robe and held a distinguished status. And the person who had just spoken was none other than him. The woman had snow-white skin and wore a holy dress. Her facial features were delicate and beautiful. There was a vision of the divine moon in her beautiful eyes. Her aura was restrained, but it carried an extremely dangerous aura. The 2 heroes of the ancient Jiang family. Why are they here? Someone recognized the 2 men and was shocked. That's right, these 2 people are Jiang Che and Jiang Yingwei. When these words were spoken, everyone was shocked and looked at them with fear in their eyes. This is a real monster from the Xintian realm, with extraordinary talent, and is not someone they can provoke just by playing house. Even Wang Teng and Lu Dezhu couldn't help but reveal a deep fear in their eyes. The top 10 monsters on the heavenly ranking will surely reach the pinnacle in the future. Even they will have to give way. What's more, Jiang Yingyue is the 2nd on the legendary heavenly ranking and is known as the Moon Goddess. Shiming was a little stunned. She didn't expect that a monster from the top 10 of the heavenly ranking would appear in this discussion. But even if that's the case, it doesn't matter. She has a holy land behind her, so she doesn't need these 2 people. Besides, she herself is also a monster in the top 20 of the heavenly ranking. Since Master Jiang is interested, then I will accept your advice. Shiming spoke neither humbly nor arrogantly. No, I just happen to have some insights into poetry. Since Fairy Shiming is hosting a discussion, I will challenge her. Jiang Che shook his head. A hint of greed flashed in his eyes, and he spoke slowly. He has been dabbling in poetry since he was a child, and he has been observing in secret for a long time today. He is determined to get these 100 fairy crystals. Once he gets them, he will give all of them to Jiang Yingyue. He could even imagine that Jiang Yingyue and others would look at him with admiration. Thinking of this, Jiang Che became very excited. After hearing this, everyone was shocked. It turned out that Jiang Che wanted to challenge Fairy Shiming. They were relieved, as they had thought the two were going to fight. It would be bad if Fairy Shiming was injured. Jiang Yingyue was also very interested when she saw this scene. She glanced down with her beautiful eyes and showed an amusement expression. Everyone knows Jiang Che's evil intentions, but she is too lazy to expose him. It's okay to make use of this useless waste. Who is this person? Suddenly, Jiang Yingyue's face stiffened as she looked at the absent-minded figure below. Just now, when her spiritual sense was reaching downwards, she didn't expect that when it fell on the young man in white, it was actually swept away, and her spiritual sense was directly shattered. Below, Nangong Chen was leisurely and elegant. He even took out the 1,000-year-old fairy wine, lowered his eyes, and drank it. He was very free and easy, and his expression did not fluctuate at all. Qing Yu, who was standing by, was watching the situation nervously. It was the first time she had seen two real people from the top 10 of the heavenly ranking, even though one of them had already fallen off. On the other side, Jiang Yingyue was shocked. She couldn't see through this person at all, as if he was covered by a layer of fog. Is this some kind of cover-up? Jiang Yingyue frowned and thought to herself. She had never seen this person before. Such an unknown person actually had such ability. It was probably a way of covering up. As for the agitation he had just experienced, it was very likely that he had been prepared for it, and it was just a momentary negligence on my part, which was understandable. Thinking of this, she felt a little disappointed. She had thought that this person had some abilities, but she didn't expect that he was a complete coward. Come back to your senses. The lake ripples with clear thoughts, while the moonlight illuminates the sorrow of merchants and travelers. Jiang Che stood in the void and spoke slowly. As soon as these words were spoken, everyone's eyes lit up. They had never expected that this evildoer from the Jiang family had such a great knowledge of literature, such description and artistic conception. I am afraid that even some elders who have studied this for many years will be far behind. Sure enough, after Shiming heard this, her beautiful eyes lit up, and then she shook her head. Although this sentence is excellent, unfortunately, it deviates greatly from the understanding in the painting. Mr. Zhang's talent is truly remarkable. This sentence is truly excellent and deserves a 9 out of 10. Shiming spoke. For a moment, everyone was shocked. Jiang Che also had a cheerful face and was full of confidence. He glanced at Jiang Yingyue, and the meaning behind his glance was self-evident. It seems at this time the 100 immortal crystals are mine. Just then, a voice rang out. I wonder if I could compete with you. Chapter 117, A Sage of Literature and Taoism. I saw a figure in white slowly walking towards me. His eyes were like stars. He was shrouded in fairy light, and his aura was ethereal, giving people a mysterious feeling. The person who spoke just now was Nangong Chen. Young master. Behind him, Qing Yu shouted hurriedly, her pretty face full of shock. She didn't expect that this young man who looked so extraordinary and mysterious would also go up and give it a try. What should I do if I run into that evildoer from the Jiang family? Thinking of this, Qing Yu looked worried, then gritted his teeth and followed. Everyone was a little surprised when they saw that there was another person who wanted a challenge. After seeing Nangong Chen, he felt a little dazed. It turned out to be him. This person has an extraordinary temperament and caused some sensation when he came in. Now he's going in front of the Jiang family's evildoer. I'm afraid there must be someone powerful behind him. For a moment, everyone was speculating about which force this genius belonged to. Even Wang Tung and Lu Dazhu were a little uncertain, looking at Nangong Chen's identity. This fellow Taoist, of course you can. Shiming's beautiful eyes lit up, and she spoke with a hint of enthusiasm in her tone. Ever since Nangong Chen came in, she had been keeping an eye on him. After all, this person's posture and aura are too immortal, and his whole body is shining with immortal light. It is something that has never been seen in life, and it is hard not to notice it. Shiming's attitude naturally surprised many people. This is the first time I've seen Fairy Shiming care so much about someone. When Jiang Che saw Nangong Chen coming, his brows furrowed and a hint of gloom flashed across his eyes, but he quickly retracted it. Who is this person? Is he some bumpkin from mountains who can't recognize me? You know that these 100 immortal crystals have already been in my pocket, yet you still come here to make a name for yourself. Well, I'll let you dance for a while. Jiang Che sneered and thought to himself. Jiang Yingyue was a little surprised when she saw this scene, and then the corners of her mouth curled up. Interesting, this person actually went up. At this moment, Nangong Chen glanced at the scroll and had the answer in his mind. Sir, do you need to think about this for a moment? Ximeng said softly. After all, this amount of time is definitely not enough. And she said it with good intentions. This fellow Taoist is so confident. Perhaps he has understood everything after just one look, right? Jiang Che said in a cold voice, with a hint of sarcasm. As soon as these words were spoken, the smell of gunpowder was full. Ximeng glanced at Jiang Che with some dissatisfaction, but didn't say much. Anyone with a discerning eye could see that he was disturbing Nangong Chen's comprehension. But Jiang Che's status was too noble, so she didn't say much. Oh, how did you know? Nangong Chen responded calmly, dressed in a stunning white robe and exuding absolute confidence. Then he stopped looking at the scroll. This action shocked everyone in the audience. Jiang Che was stunned for a moment, then sneered. Interesting. It seems that this person dares to respond, and he must have some confidence behind him. However, all forces are no match for the Taiku Jiang family. If this kid knew who we are, he would probably kneel down and beg for mercy. What a boastful speech. He composes poetry with one glance. He really thinks he's a poet's saint. Jiang Che laughed loudly, his tone full of disdain. Ximeng looked at Nangong Chen with some disappointment. She didn't expect that under such a handsome appearance, he was so frivolous. It's not that she looked down on this person. After one look at the poem, she realized that even her master had never gone to this extent, let alone a young man of her generation. Qingyu looked at Nangong Chen with concern in her beautiful eyes. Obviously, she was also very insecure in her heart. The moon rises brightly over the sea, and lovers across the world share this moment. Lovers complain about the long night and yearn for their lover all night long. They extinguish the candle, but feel pity for the full light. They put on their clothes and feel the dew. Unable to bear the gift, they return to sleep and dream of the good times. Nangong Chen spoke slowly, with a Taoist aura entwined around him. As soon as he finished speaking, strange phenomena appeared in the sky. Thousands of purple clouds came from the east, and the shadows of dragons and phoenixes intertwined. It was obvious that the way of heaven was activated. At this moment, the whole audience was in an uproar. Everyone's face changed. They looked up at the sky in shock and gasped. One sentence can bring blessings from heaven. This is the highest realm of literature in the legend. Today, they were lucky enough to see it. The bright moon rises over the sea, and we all share this moment. When Ximeng heard this, it was like a bolt from the blue, and she kept talking to herself. Suddenly, a flash of lightning flashed through her mind, and the aura around her continued to surge. And she actually broke through in one day. The smile on Jiang Che's lips froze, and he looked into the void, his face full of disbelief. He naturally recognized that this was a blessing from heaven, but he never expected that Nangong Chen could actually do it and compose a poem with just one word. At this moment, he felt his face burning. Jiang Yingyue couldn't help but be shocked. She didn't expect that this person had such high attainments in literature. I really underestimated him. Qingyu's delicate body trembled. Her heart was very excited, and then a little ashamed. I didn't expect that the young master was so proficient in literature. It's a pity that she reminded him before. Nangong Chen was also a little surprised. He didn't expect that a line of poetry could cause such a sensation. It seems that the culture of our ancestors is still too advanced for them. Nangong Chen shook his head and thought to himself. After a long time, the strange vision dissipated, and everyone came back to their senses with a look of aftertaste on their faces. Some of them had already been studying literature, and, thanks to Nangong Chen's help, their cultivation improved a lot overnight. I wonder how many points I can get, Nangong Chen said calmly, without a trace of emotion on his face. Such an indifferent attitude slapped them in the face. Jiang Che, in particular, felt his face burning with pain, and even after feeling the gazes of others, he looked even uglier. Ximeng was stunned for a moment, then reacted and apologized. Sir, I'm so sorry. Your poem was too profound. I only understood a little bit, but it gave me a breakthrough. This poem truly possesses a majestic and vast artistic conception. Even the emotions expressed are perfectly fitting, even more concrete than my description. It achieves the state of harmony between man and nature. I give this poem a perfect score. Then, Ximeng seemed to have thought of something and added, "Of course, this is the limit of my assessment this time, but it doesn't represent the limit of this poem. I'm afraid only the sages of literature and Taoism who have come after the legend are qualified to comment." As soon as these words were spoken, the whole audience fell silent. They had never imagined that Fairy Ximeng would have such a high opinion of this poem, even to the level of a literary saint. These people looked at Nangong Chen with shock in their eyes. A person of the same generation can actually write such a shocking poem. Who was his teacher? At this time, they had already thought that Nangong Chen was from a family that specialized in practicing literature and Taoism, and they didn't dare to think that he was a martial artist. Nangong Chen was calm and composed, as if he had thought of it. Without any fluctuation, he just nodded slightly. Chapter 118. Shun Lin Jiutian. Since this discussion has concluded, you have the highest score of all the participants, so you will receive these 100 immortal crystals. Ximeng said softly, took out a brocade bag, and handed it to Nangong Chen. There was even her subtle fragrance on the brocade bag, which was very tempting. Her beautiful eyes shone with a strange light as she looked at Nangong Chen, as if there was some special meaning. There was a note inside the brocade bag, which stated the address of her private residence. If possible, she hoped Nangong Chen could discuss Taoism with her in the future. This scene shocked many people. Who is this person? Wang Tung gritted his teeth and said, his face turned black, as if he had eaten shit. They didn't expect that in the end, all the 100 fairy crystals they paid were given to this kid. It feels like raising money to book a room for a goddess, and then delivering it to her personally. The feeling in my heart is incredible. Lu Dazhu was concentrating, with some fear in his eyes. He seemed to have guessed who it was. Surrounded by divine light, with extraordinary aura, he looks like a banished immortal. I don't know, but I advise you not to mess with him. Lu Dazhui reminded them that since the two of them had been pursuing Ximeng for so long, these words were like a bucket of cold water poured on Wang Tung's head. Lu Dazhu is of the same status as him. Even he is so afraid of him, so he cannot afford to offend him. Then I have to find out his identity, too. Wang Tung said with gritted teeth, looking unwilling. He has never suffered such injustice in such a long time. Lu Dazhu smiled and said nothing. Although he was also unwilling to accept the fact that he was the one who produced the most fairy crystals this time, he still knew how to distinguish when it came to his life. After Nangong Chen took it, he just glanced at it and without saying anything, took out all the fairy crystals inside and returned the brocade bag to Ximeng. Ximeng was stunned when she saw this, and then her beautiful eyes dimmed, as if her heart was broken. When Jiang Che saw the duck that was about to be caught flew away, his eyes became very cold, and there was a hint of anger in his heart. Since we can't just take it, we can only rob it. At this moment, greed flashed in his eyes. This kid is well versed in literature and Taoism, which proves that he is not a martial artist and can be easily controlled. Hey, stop. Seeing Nangong Chen wanted to leave, Jiang Che said coldly, and a powerful aura burst out like an overwhelming force. Jiang Ingwe watched this scene with great interest and did not say anything to stop it. In her opinion, the strong should plunder the weak. It's only right. These 100 immortal crystals are still very useful to her. Seeing this, everyone couldn't help but look worried. It seems that if this young man does not hand over these 100 immortal crystals today, it will be difficult for him to leave the astronomy pavilion. This is a monster from the ancient Jiang family. I'm afraid there are only a few people in the world who can surpass him. Seeing this, Ximeng's pretty face couldn't help but show some anger, and she said, Jiang Che, what do you mean? Nangong Chen has done her a great favor, and she couldn't just stand by and watch Jiang Che act tyrannically and bully Nangong Chen. What do you mean? These 100 immortal crystals are not so easy to get. Jiang Che sneered and ignored him. Then, seeing Nangong Chen walking calmly and freely as if he hadn't heard anything, Jiang Che clenched his fists and a murderous thought surged in his heart. If you dare to ignore me, you will die. The sky was filled with fierce energy, pressing towards Nangong Chen with terrifying power. If a Tianbang Tianjiao took this move, he would be either dead or crippled, let alone an ordinary Tianjiao. When everyone saw this scene, they felt a chill in their hearts and shook their heads, feeling it was a pity. It seems that a genius of literature and art is about to pass away. There is no way. The world of cultivating immortals is so cruel. You dare. Shimeng Jiao shouted, and a white-handed Buddha appeared. Thousands of purple flowers bloomed, carrying a strong Taoist charm, protecting Nangong Chen. Jiang Che sneered. A mere demon at the bottom of the heavenly ranking couldn't withstand this attack. Sure enough, the fierce energy in the sky instantly broke through the purple flower formation and rushed towards Nangong Chen. Shimeng's face turned pale, and she closed her eyes, unable to bear to see this scene. "Are you afraid?" Nangong Chen spoke. The person he was asking about was not someone else, but Qingyu. Qingyu's delicate body trembled as she responded, "I'm not afraid. Everything that happened today was a choice she made personally, and even if she died, she had no resentment. The only pity is that she can no longer take care of her younger brother." Nangong Chen nodded thoughtfully. The next moment, Nangong Chen looked at the fierce energy in the sky and punched out. The fist light was extremely bright, and with a roar of a Qilin, its power was earth-shaking, and it actually turned into a Qilin shadow to kill. With this punch, even the void trembled, and even the sky and earth were torn apart wherever the fist wind reached. Boom! The raging flames in the sky were instantly extinguished by this punch, but the fist light was still there, rushing straight towards Jiang Che behind him. Jiang Che's face changed, and he summoned a defensive magic weapon that emitted endless golden light, trying to block it. Boom! What was unexpected was that punch actually blew up the magic weapon and disintegrated it directly. Jiang Che was blown away by the power, spitting blood and his body retreating continuously. "Who the hell are you?" Jiang Che's face turned pale, and he asked through gritted teeth. At this moment, he finally knew where the other party's confidence came from. What puzzled him was why he had never seen this person before, as he was a monster on the heavenly ranking. Hiss! When everyone saw this scene, their pupils shrank slightly, and some of them couldn't believe it. This is the fighting power of a mere scholar. Shimeng happened to see this scene, her mouth slightly opened, and she looked shocked. To be able to beat Jiang Che to this extent, this young man is actually in the top 10 of the heavenly ranking? Thinking of this, Shimeng's beautiful eyes showed admiration. Wen Dao had such an achievement in the top 10 of the heavenly ranking, and he was simply her dream partner. Jiang Yingwei was a little surprised. The power of that punch was so great that even if she tried to block it, she might not be able to block it. Did I misjudge? Jiang Yingwei felt as if she was facing a formidable enemy. She was extremely fearful, with shock in her eyes as she pondered. Among the top 10 of the heavenly ranking, there was someone she had never seen before. It seemed that it could only be Wang Tung, who had been watching this side, kept patting his chest as if he had been saved, still in shock. "Brother, it's a good thing you reminded me, huh?" Lu Daju's eyes were also shocked. He knew that Nangong Chen was very strong, but he didn't expect that he was so strong. "You are the first person who dares to rob me." Nangong Chen's eyes were cold, and he showed a sneer. "I wanted to leave quietly, but I didn't expect that he would dare to provoke me. I have no choice but to take action." Qingyu was in shock, and it took him a long time to recover. The top 10 on the heavenly ranking is actually next to me? This. She is actually leading the way for the monsters in the top 10 of the heavenly ranking. When Jiang Che saw the smile, he felt uneasy, so he took out the boundary-breaking talisman, tore through the void, and ran away. Everyone was stunned. He just ran away like that. Seeing him use the boundary-breaking talisman, Nangong Chen did not continue to pursue him. He glanced at Jiang Yingwei and turned away. Qingyu followed closely behind. Jiang Yingwei felt this gaze, as if she had fallen into an icy cave, and a chill surged into her heart. This person must not be provoked. "Sir, you haven't told me your name yet." Just then, Shimeng chased out. Chun is in the 9th heaven. Chapter 119. Prince Aolong declares war, and everyone watches. Nangong Chen turned and left, his white robe rustling, leaving behind only these 4 words. Chun is in the sky. These 4 big words, like a bolt from the blue, echoed in everyone's mind. The top 10 monsters on the heavenly ranking, and their names also have the word Chun in their names. Everyone suddenly thought of the above, looked at each other in shock. They didn't expect that this person was the recently famous person with double pupils. Shimeng was stunned where she stood, and it took her a long time to react, her beautiful eyes filled with uncontrollable surprise. "So it's you," she whispered, her eyes shining. Possessing such strength and talent, there is probably only one person in the world. On the other side, Nangong Chen and the other person had already walked away. Along the way, Qingyu's delicate face blushed a little, and her gem-like eyes glanced at the face that looked like a banished immortal from time to time. Thinking back to when he had advised the young master not to enter the astronomical pavilion, he didn't expect that he would be slapped in the face. The young master is not only unparalleled in literature and martial arts, but also extraordinary. He is even a legendary monster who is among the top 10 on the heavenly ranking. But fortunately, the other party didn't seem to care, otherwise a small person like her would not be worth the young master's finger. Thinking of this, she looked at Nangong Chen's expression again, which was very calm and indifferent. Fortunately, I'm not angry, Qingyu whispered to himself, feeling relieved. She had been traveling a lot during this period and had no time to relax and learn about the current top 10 on the heavenly ranking. The only person I remember seems to be the one with double pupils. I just don't know who this important person is. Just as Qingyu was thinking, a deafening voice echoed throughout the entire Chu city. The 1-month period has expired. Those with double pupils, come and fight. I know you're coming. This voice was so powerful that an arrogant figure even appeared in the minds of many people. It is none other than the monstrous villain on the heavenly ranking, Prince A.O. Long. On the street, everyone's expressions changed. They looked into the void, their pupils shrinking slightly. A figure wearing golden armor stood in the void, holding a blood-red halberd in his hand. He was extremely powerful. His eyes flashed like cold lightning, and his fighting spirit was overwhelming. Below him was a towering mountain with its peak reaching into the sky. It was majestic and magnificent. It was the peak of the Chu family mountain. At this moment, Prince A.O. Long was standing there, and everyone in the entire Chu city could see him clearly. Such an outbreak naturally attracted the attention of many important figures. Among the people who came to watch, there were quite a few from the immortal families alone. In the royal city, the Chu family and others gathered together, staring intently at the scene in the sky. Yenner, did you say that person with double pupils really come? A middle-aged man with a terrifying aura asked. It was the head of the Chu family, Chu Shanha. If the news is correct, he is here. Chu Yin said calmly. Her skin was as white as snow, and her face was pale, like a sickly beauty. Chu Shanha nodded, a hint of curiosity in his eyes. I wonder if the one with double pupils can defeat Prince A.O. Long. Recently, that brat has been whispering in his ear that he wants the man with double pupils to be his brother-in-law. Thinking of this, he looked at Chu Xing, who was sitting in the corner with some anger. You've never even met someone before, but you're already calling him brother-in-law. How disrespectful. I'll give you a few more beatings when I get back. In the attic, Howard Pavilion and others also gathered here. Brother, I heard from other fellow disciples that Elder Xiong seemed to have asked the one with double pupils to protect us when he's away from home. Is this true? One of the disciples asked, feeling very proud. His name is Xiongda, the son of Elder Xiong. He is incredibly talented. At only 22 years old, he has already reached the 40th place on the heavenly ranking, which is very rare. It's true, you Russian said helplessly. All right, that old man is really confused. He can say such words. I want to see if that person with double pupils has 3 heads and 6 arms, and is worthy of protecting me. Xiongda sneered. He felt that he was being looked down upon. That's right, a genius from Eastern Shenzhou. How can he be so strong? Junior brother, you may not have seen anyone stronger. Another older disciple spoke up and addressed Russian. The people who came to Chu City this time were different from the previous ones. They were all the elites of Howard Pavilion, the top group, and naturally had different views from other disciples. Russian didn't know what to say and could only respond with a wry smile. He looked into the void, hoping that the one with double pupils would change their minds later. The other side, in the void, several chariots stood there, and a 9-sun flag hanging above them was very eye-catching. When the people below saw this, they were also shocked, their eyes filled with fear. This force is none other than the legendary palace of the sun god, or it's a force that has a grudge against people with double pupils. They remembered that the last time they were in the 9-heaven secret realm, the sun god palace lost a quasi-saint and 2 god kings. Afterwards, the sun god palace acted as if nothing had happened and did not even hold the person with double pupils accountable. This was truly eye-opening for them. Everyone also speculated that they might be afraid of the woman with the bronze ghost mask in the rumor. However, now that so much time has passed, the rumors have gradually faded. If the palace of the sun god launches an attack this time, Those with double pupils will have a hard time. This is Central China. It is impossible for forces from other states to extend their hands so far. Is today the day when the man with double pupils will fight against Prince Ao Long? An extremely powerful aura emanated from the chariot, and a cold voice was heard. This person is the second sequence of the Sun God Palace, Yi Guqing. There is a saint bone in his chest, and he is hailed as a little saint by the world. That's right. On the side, an elder said respectfully, I want to see what this person with double pupils is capable of. How dare he be so disrespectful to our Sun Palace? Yi Guqing's tone turned cold, and a terrifying aura burst out from his body, causing the void to tremble. Yi Sulai, the one with double pupils, is only ranked 10th on the heavenly ranking. There's a huge gap between you and your 4th place on the heavenly ranking. You're nothing but a clown. The elder smiled and said with a flattering look on his face. Yi Guqing nodded, very satisfied. That's right. This man only killed a worthless waste like Lan Lingtian. The difference in strength between Lan Lingtian and me is like a bright moon. I am the bright moon. Yi Guqing continued. The palace master told me not to take action in Chu City. This time, the Chu family's immortal treasure will be the death of this person with double pupils. Of course, if he can survive the battle with Prince Ao Long. Perhaps this sequence won't even need to do anything, and this person will fall right here. Ha ha. Yi Guqing laughed loudly, as if he had already seen the miserable state of the person with double pupils. What Yi Shuli said is absolutely right. Beside him, the elder forced a smile as beautiful as a chrysanthemum and flattered him. Chapter 120. Someone from the Jun family comes from the upper realm to slay the dragon. The hidden royal family. Is it going to be a two-man showdown today? It's a shame I can't go and see it in person. Jun Wushuang muttered to himself in a low voice. His eyes flashing, a mysterious and yellow aura filled the air, and he carried an invincible momentum. In the void, Kuanpeng, Dating, and other divine figures actually appeared. These were the symbols of the Tsang Tianba T lineage. Now, the divine elephant has become more solid, carrying with it an awe-inspiring divine power, with countless runes intertwined, extremely terrifying. Obviously, this has already reached a whole new level of the heavenly tyrant body. Jun Wushuang's strength is no longer what it used to be, and he has entered the realm of God King. The guardian beside him was very satisfied with the situation. He nodded frequently and said, Indeed, your current strength is all these 3 divine aspects. If you cultivate to perfection and emerge in the world, I'm afraid you will be able to crush all the monsters in the Xiantian realm. Even if he's ranked among the 3,000 Dao states, he can be considered a top-tier genius. The protector had an aura as deep as the abyss. He was very young, wearing a Taoist robe, and there was a hint of arrogance in his eyes. After hearing this, Jun Wushuang was speechless, clenched his fists, and was very unwilling. With such talent and strength, he can only be considered a top-tier genius among the 3,000 Dao states. That's right, the Jun family in their Xiantian domain is a branch of the Jun family in Sanxian Daozhou, and his so-called protector is the main family who sensed that a good bloodline was born in the branch and specially sent this person to take over. But when you return to the main house, that is, the 3,000 Dao states of the 9 heavens, you don't have to worry too much. I have seen too many evildoers from the lower realms who never recovered after coming to the main house. You should know that the master family asked you to come to Sanxian Daozhou because they saw your value. You just need to practice according to the class. Even if you can't become the top group of the Jun family in the future, you can become the backbone of the Jun family. The young protector spoke slowly. Although his words were full of advice, it was hard not to see the disdain in his eyes. His name is Junyu. In the upper realm, he is a genius from the side branch. He is ridiculed by the people of the main family every day and has a low status. Now that he has come to the Xiantian realm, he naturally has some arrogance in his heart. He has a natural arrogance towards people of these branch bloodlines. Of course, he had seen many monsters from the branches, but after coming to Sanxian Daozhou, they all ended up being ordinary geniuses, and in the future, they could only become a member of the vast side branch of the family. As a genius from the side branch, his future destination will naturally be further than those geniuses from the lower realm, so he is naturally not afraid of their revenge in the future. I see. Jun Wushuang spoke after a long time. Do you have any other questions? Asked Junyu. After hearing this, Jun Wushuang pondered for a moment before speaking. Some time ago, a genius with a talent beyond the 9th rank was born in the Xiantian territory. His gift was double pupils. Does such a talent beyond the 9th rank really exist? After hearing this, Junyu's eyes fluttered a little, as if he had thought of something, and said, "Beyond the 9th rank, it's true. In your Xiantian territory, the highest aptitude is the 9th rank. Little do you know, there are actually more than the 9th rank. Of course, you will know these things later when you come to the 3,000 Dao provinces." After hearing this, Jun Wushuang was somewhat surprised and asked, "Has anyone come to escort the genius with super 9th grade talent to the upper realm?" "No, you said he's a super 9th rank." After hearing Jun Wushuang's words, Junyu seemed to have thought of something and looked shocked. "Yes, this is known to everyone in Xiantian territory." Jun Wushuang nodded and responded, "That's strange." Junyu whispered, his eyes full of thoughts. In the 3,000 Dao states, the major forces have the means to detect the monsters in the 10 domains, and this is also the means for the major forces to snatch people. However, the information he had at the time did not show that there were any geniuses above the 9th rank in the Xiantian domain. You know, if there is a genius above the 9th rank here, he will be snatched up by the other 3,000 Dao states, because you only know that it says above the 9th rank, but you don't know how much higher it is. If a peerless monster comes later, you will be very lucky. Is someone covering it up? Junyu shook his head and then rejected the idea. He had checked and found that there were only a few families in Xiantian territory that were connected to the forces of the upper realm. Now, there's only one other possibility. That is, something went wrong. You're most likely deceived. That kid is probably not a talent beyond the 9th rank. Junyu pondered for a long time and spoke with a gleam in his eyes. "Oh!" Jun Wushuang was stunned and very surprised. "Have any of you seen him take the aptitude test in person?" Junyu asked again. Jun Wushuang shook his head. "That was compiled by the Tianji Pavilion. How could he know it?" "That's right." Junyu became more certain and smiled, but in his heart, he wanted to laugh. He never expected that there would be someone in this lower world who could fake talent. Thinking of this, all his good feelings towards this person disappeared, and he felt very contemptuous of him. It is said that this time the one with double pupils is fighting against someone with the proud dragon body. If the one with double pupils talent is fake, then it seems he will definitely lose this time. Jun Wushuang said again, thinking about the decisive battle between the two of them today. Proud dragon, saint body? That's possible. If the two are at the same realm, this liar who faked his talent won't have any chance of winning. If you don't believe me, just wait and see. Junyu shook his head, a smile on his face, and a confident look on his face. On the other side, on the street, Qingyu heard this, and a look of resentment appeared on her pretty face. She was very familiar with this voice. If it weren't for Prince A.O. Long, she wouldn't have fallen to this point, with her family broken up. That damn Prince A.O. Long is still as arrogant as ever. I really hope that person with double pupils can give him a good beating. I believe that person with double pupils can do it. Qingyu gritted his teeth, looked at the figure in the void, and said with resentment in his eyes, "The one with double pupils didn't respond before, so you just trust him?" Nangong Chen looked puzzled and asked curiously, "Why do you trust him so much? He has never been to Zhongshenzhou." Qingyu shook his head, looked at Nangong Chen, and said seriously, "Since his rise, the double pupil master has been sweeping the land without a single defeat. He went from 100th on the heavenly ranking to the top 10 in just a few months. I believe him. He definitely won't bother to respond to a clown like Prince Aolong." When she said this, there was a hint of fanaticism and excitement in her eyes. "Sir, you are also in the top 10 of the heavenly ranking. You should know something about this, right?" She looked at Nangong Chen, her beautiful eyes sparkling, and blinked. Seeing such an extraordinary and handsome figure, Qingyu suddenly had an idea in his mind. It would be great if the young master had double pupils. Is that so? Nangong Chen suddenly realized something, and a smile appeared on the corner of his mouth. The next moment, he turned around and left, his feet stepping on the void, and his white robe rustled. And on his shoulder, the little red snake had long disappeared, transformed into a red dragon with a body of 100 feet long, with flames wrapped around its body and its dragon whiskers swaying, looking extremely domineering. Nangong Chen stood on the dragon's head, riding the wind, his eyes no longer concealed, bursting out with astonishing power. "Sir, where are you going?" "Slay the dragon." Chapter 121, A person with double pupils is born, and everyone is shocked. Dragon Slayer? Qingyu was shocked and stared at the white figure in a daze. It turns out that the young master is the legendary person with double pupils. At this moment, on the street, everyone's pupils shrank slightly and their bodies trembled slightly. Why would a demon at the quasi-saint level appear in Chu City? Someone turned pale and asked in confusion. The dragon's aura was too powerful, and they were too weak to resist it. But soon, someone saw the white figure on the huge dragon head and exclaimed, "Look, there's someone on the red dragon's head. Who is it?" Everyone was extremely shocked and opened their eyes wide to see the ethereal figure, especially the eyes, which exuded an astonishing pressure. Just one look, and everyone's faces turned pale, as if their souls were being devoured. It was extremely terrifying. After guessing the situation, they now knew who this person was. It's him, the legendary person with double pupils. He actually dared to come to Chu City to fight. Who said before that people with double pupils dare not come? Speak. I didn't expect the true appearance of a person with double pupils to be so extraordinary. I always thought they were fierce and vicious. Those people, with fanatical expressions on their faces, started to speak. Among them were some children of big families, and even some geniuses from top sects, but all of them were cheering for Nangong Chen. This is how popular people with double pupils are these days, enough to resound throughout the entire Xintian realm. In their hearts, the person with double pupils is simply a legend, and his talent is the legendary Super Ninth level. He swept all the way from Eastern Xinzhou and never lost. Now he has come to Central Xinzhou, and he wants to continue writing his own legend. Everyone looked at the figure riding the dragon, their eyes filled with passion. Obviously, this scene had a great impact on them. Many young women trembled and blushed when they saw the outstanding appearance of those with double pupils. Such fluctuations are spreading out like ripples at this moment. He is the one with double pupils? When Chu Shanha saw this, his eyes showed a hint of surprise, and he asked, "It's him." Chu Yan's beautiful eyes shone brightly as she looked at Nangong Chen and responded, "He seems to have become stronger." Previously in the Nine Heavens secret realm, the oppressive feeling brought to her by the man with double pupils was not so strong. But now, the sky spear in her body told her that this person must not be provoked. Is this the speed of cultivation of super ninth grade talent? The entire Chu family, whether it was the young disciples or the elders, were all stunned. When they heard Chu Xing describe this person with double pupils before, they thought it was an exaggeration. But after seeing him today, they felt that Chu Xing's description was still too conservative. How did a genius from Eastern Xinzhou cultivate to this level? One disciple looked shocked and said in disbelief. After hearing this, no one answered, and everyone was also very confused. God knows how a monster of this level was born in that place. Chu Shanha's eyes were deep as he pondered. It seems that what Chu Xing said about letting someone with double pupils be his brother-in-law does make sense. Howard Pavilion. Brother, I think you were right. This person with double pupils seems to have something special. At this moment, Xiongde felt the breath and spoke in a trembling voice, with fear in his eyes. The arrogance and domineering look from before has long disappeared. I told you already. Yu Russian responded speechlessly, looking at Nangong Chen with shock in his eyes. This guy, I haven't seen him for a few months. He has become stronger again. Yu Russian showed a bitter smile. It seemed that he would never be able to defeat him in this life. Thinking back, he was ranked 100th on the heavenly ranking last time, but this time he was directly ranked 10th. As expected, the rise of evildoers is truly unstoppable. Senior brother, can you tell us more about people with double pupils? Shionda asked timidly, as if to say I was wrong. Although the other brothers were embarrassed to show their pride, they all looked over. After all, the two haven't started fighting yet, so it's okay to get to know each other. Seeing this, Russian also recalled what happened between him and Nangong Chen before, and then slowly said, I don't know much about people with double pupils, but as long as you don't provoke them and the people around them, you should be fine. Then how are we supposed to identify the people around the one with double pupils? What should we do if we provoke them in the future? Shionda scratched his head and asked in confusion. Well, he's usually surrounded by a lot of women, and they're all stunningly beautiful, each one incredibly gorgeous. That's easy to spot. Russian coughed lightly and continued. I have to admit, compared to the appearance of the man with double pupils, I'm afraid I'm slightly inferior to him. Well, this is the only man I admit is more handsome than me. When Shionda heard that there were so many beauties around the man with double pupils, he couldn't help but feel jealous. After thinking for a while, he spoke seriously. Looking at Shionda's fierce and ferocious appearance, everyone was speechless. With a look on his face, do people still need your recognition? Russian was also frowning, and then continued, Of course, if you bump into him, you only need to give him immortal crystals. 10 immortal crystals or more at a time. After hearing this, the disciples took a deep breath. What? 10 immortal crystals? Their entire possessions combined were worth less than 1 immortal crystal, and yet colliding with someone with double pupils would cost 10. Thinking of this, a hint of fear appeared in their eyes. They must never provoke people with double pupils in the future. It's so scary. Russian heaved a sigh of relief upon seeing this. It was good that they were afraid. At least they wouldn't be at odds with those with double pupils in the future. Thinking about how I once vowed to defeat the person with double pupils, but now I don't even have the courage to face him and can only teach my junior brother how to avoid people with double pupils in the future. Thinking of this, Russian's eyes dimmed and a self-deprecating smile appeared at the corner of his mouth. So he's the one with double pupils? He's quite capable. A cold voice came from the most luxurious chariot in the palace of the sun god. After hearing this, the elders did not dare to respond and lowered their heads. Yi Guqing had a complicated expression as he looked at the figure. He could sense that the person with double pupils was probably not inferior to him. Then, he gently stroked the saint's bone in his chest, which contained tremendous power. No matter what abilities you possess, if you become an enemy of the Sun Palace, you will only end up dead. Yi Guqing's eyes were cold, and he spoke slowly. This time, the palace master tempered his saint bone to a new level before leaving, making it extremely powerful. It can be said that he came well prepared.